Is it time?
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day.
We'll see what happens. We'll know in a very short period of time, but it looks like it could be something that will be not good. Believe me, not good.
I am a dissident.
Don't move. Move.
I'm saying no. Why you hear Palantir, 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 Palantir? Stop.
Seriously, we need to release the F-scene list.
Turns off.
I am not a church boy.
Turns off.
They're full-on vampires.
They hate our beef. They hate our beef. They hate our beef because our beef is beautiful and theirs is weak.
Not good. Believe me, not good.
Hello, dissidents. Well, welcome one and all to a special Tuesday evening election night edition of the Do Dissidents podcast. Keaton Weiss here with Russell Dobular, of course.
Hello.
How's everybody doing this
All right,
evening?
you gotta let me do something.
All right, go ahead.
I gotta get the coffee. All right.
Oh, you got it. Yeah, no, 6 weeks wasn't enough time off. He needs to take his time coming back. He needs to make certain adjustments. I don't want to tax him or anything. Don't want to put too much pressure on him. All right. So while Russ is getting the coffee, hey, we are here to cover election night tonight between Thomas Massie and Ed Gallrein. It is the God-fearing salt of the earth people of Kentucky versus the gay trans Jew mafia of Ed Gallrein. And as of now, it does not look like we have any results in, but we will be following those results all night, as well as doing, of course, our regularly scheduled segments. We got a great crowd in here to start things off. 931 in the YouTube chat and 300 strong in the Rumble room. Please smash that like button. Let's get a big crowd in here tonight for some election results. There is some other election-related news that I want to bring to you all. Today, our friend Jose Vega officially submitted his independent signatures to qualify for his place on the independent ballot line in the Bronx. So Jose put that out there today and tweeted it out. So here is the video. Here is Jose Vega turning in his signatures for the independent ballot line.
Last time I was here, I didn't wear a suit. I just wore a dumb pea coat. That was for the Democratic petitioning. But today I'm all gussied up for the independent petitioning. So maybe that should tell you how I see this whole process. So we're here today at the Board of Elections. We're handing in our independent petitions. We collected over 10,000 of them in just the last month alone. And this is our second time handing in our petitions. That's right. We are on the Democratic primary ballot, and now we are on the independent ballot primary because we don't trust the Democratic Party to play by the rules and giving us a fair shake. We're not here to prop up the Democratic Party or sheep herd people back to the Democratic Party. No, we intend to fight this thing tooth and nail, and we will take no prisoners, and we will hold everyone accountable. That is why we spent the last few weeks out in the streets, going up and down buildings, collecting the signatures we need to make sure that no matter what happens on June 23rd, our name will continue to be on the ballot for November. Because I'm not in this for me. This is not a career move. This is simply declaring our independence once again. I just want to thank everybody who was involved in collecting these signatures. A big shout out to the boys over at Due Dissidents for making me suffer twice.
Right. Well, you know what you could do? I mean, you could do what none of these dickless Democrats have ever done before, which is say, I'm going to run in the primary, and if I lose the primary, I'm running as an independent.
I'm running as an
I'm not
independent.
dropping out.
What we always said Bernie should do.
Yeah, that's what we always said these people should all do, and none of them ever do it.
You know, New York lets you do that. I mean, that's what Cuomo
You can do that. Yeah.
To collect these signatures, making me run in the Democrat and independent ballot. And to everybody who donated, to everybody who shared our videos, this is your victory. This is all about you. And everybody who, whether you gathered 1 signature or 1,000 signatures, I want to thank all of you.
There you go. See, he even gave us a little shout out in that video. I thought I thought I looked good in that video. What do you think?
You did. You did. What happened, man?
I thought I looked pretty handsome.
What happened? That's what happens, man. You're squeezing out too many kids.
I was a good-looking guy back then.
The way it is with kids, it's like Invasion of the Body Snatchers. They suck out your life force and become you.
They felch out your life force.
They felch it out. They felch it out, man.
Yeah. That's what they say. That's what they say about parenthood. It's just a big felch at the end of the day. But congrats to Jose officially handing it in. So he is officially on 2 ballot lines, the Democratic Party for the primary and the independent for the general election, win or lose. So that's great. Big task, big job. Congrats to them. Go to votevega.nyc for more information on the campaign. So glad we could shout out Jose at the top of the show. Still waiting on our first results from the wonderful 4th District of Kentucky. 0 votes in so far.
All right. That's a barn burner.
Yeah, it's a low scoring. So far, it's a soccer game out in Kentucky. 0-0. Yeah.
0-0.
0-0. No score. All right. Well, what else do we have to take care of at the outset? It's somebody's birthday today, right? Who's the birthday boy today? 2 birthday boys today.
2 birthday boys. One of them, I got to actually visit his house. You know who it is. Ho, ho, Ho Chi Minh. Ho, ho, Ho Chi Minh. That's right. And the second one, I live actually in a neighborhood very historically significant to his legacy. Today is both Ho Chi Minh and Malcolm X's birthday. Ho Chi Minh, 1890, and Malcolm X, 1925. Born the same day. Isn't that crazy? I never knew that until today. I didn't know that. So here's a little tribute here to Ho Chi Minh from Daniel Mayakovsky. On May 19th, 1890, the legendary communist and anti-colonial Vietnamese leader Ho Chi Minh was born, the invincible giant who defeated 3 empires and brought Western power to its knees. In 1940, he fought for 5 years in the guerrilla war and defeated the Japanese Empire. In 1945, he organized the expulsion of French colonialism from Vietnam. And in 1975, he would ultimately triumph over the U.S. invader in its cowardly aggression against Vietnam, an irreplaceable anti-imperialist warrior. Ho Chi Minh was one of the founders of the French Communist Party, as well as of the Communist Party of Vietnam. In the USSR, he served as an advisor to the Comintern for Southeast Asia, in addition to participating in the global socialist movement in New York, London, and Paris. Quote, if 2 stones collide with each other, both would break. This means that strategies must be used around the enemy's capacity. France has tanks and artillery, so we destroy their roads. France uses planes, so we dig trenches for them. France wants a quick victory, so then we wage a prolonged war. Reasoning in this way, we certainly win. The enemy's position is like fire, our position is like water, and water will always prevail over fire. Now, Ho Chi Minh did not live to see the liberation of his country. He died in 1969, but I can tell you, having just been there, there are people, particularly in the South, who lament the fact that the communists won. universally they admire Ho Chi Minh as a patriot and a nationalist who defeated the invaders and the colonizers. I did not hear one person who had a bad thing to say about Ho Chi Minh. Whereas Mao's legacy in China, and they occupy a similar position in the national iconography as kind of the founder of the modern nation. Mao's legacy is more complicated. People will, off the record, be critical of Mao, but not Ho Chi Minh. Not even people who wish he had lost. Something a lot of people might not know is part of the reason for the Vietnam War. After the French left, there was supposed to be a referendum. This was agreed upon. The United Nations, United States agreed on it. The United States commissioned a poll. It showed 80% would vote for Ho Chi Minh. They said, well, we can't have that. And they decided not to have the referendum at all. So I got to go to the tomb. Of course, you cannot take pictures inside. That was the home of Ho Chi Minh, which you can also visit if you go to Hanoi, not too far outside the main city. And this was a guide that I spent some time with. We showed this once before at the top of one of the shows when I was in Vietnam. But for Ho Chi Minh's birthday, let's take another look. I found, speaking to her views on Ho Chi Minh were pretty typical of Vietnamese people. So it seems like Ho Chi Minh is very beloved in the country, would you say?
In my country, Vietnamese people really love Ho Chi Minh president because, you know, he was the first president that came abroad to find the way to save our country for about 30 years. Yeah, so for all of his life, he was devoted on his life to our country, and he haven't married yet. He devoted on his life to our country.
And so what do you think about the revolution of communism? The Vietnamese people support it?
Yeah, Vietnamese people really support it because we just wanna live peace in our country. But you know, other country came into Vietnam and colonized Vietnam, and we have to fight to. We have to do the best just to save the country.
As you could probably tell if you watched my whole Odyssey, I absolutely adored Vietnam and the Vietnamese people. They made the strongest impression on me. So Malcolm X, who of course the mosque number 7, where he really made his name, is a few short blocks from where I live, actually. Now the current mosque number 7 is not in the location of the original mosque number 7. There was a split within the Nation of Islam between the son of Elijah Muhammad, who wound up actually becoming more moderate, and Louis Farrakhan. Louis Farrakhan basically took over the Nation of Islam, but Elijah Muhammad's son took the building. So today, that building is the Malcolm Shabazz Cultural Center, whereas mosque number 7 is in a different location now. But today is Malcolm X's birthday. Let's hear one of his many bangers, very appropriate in these times, about world revolution. As you might know, he split from the nation later on and took on a more multiracial view of revolution. Preach. So in this time of midgets, it's nice to be reminded the giants once walked the earth. On this day of the birthday of both of these great men, Ho Chi Minh and Malcolm X, a sincere happy birthday.
Yeah, I think on May 19th, they should call the banh mi sandwich the Ho Chi Minh sandwich.
They should. He's on all the money.
or if that's too radical, this one is easier. You could, change the name of the rice noodle soup, call it a Pho Chi Minh.
Pho Chi.
See, that's a
pretty
dad
good.
joke.
A
Even
Pho
you
Chi
like.
Minh?
See, that's a little bit of a dad joke, but it was so good that even you liked it.
Maybe I will move to Hanoi and I will start selling that.
Pho Chi Minh's Noodle House.
Pho Chi Minh, yeah.
Pho Chi Minh's Noodle and Banh Mi. Yeah,
Not
I'm sure
bad.
they would love that. I'm sure they would really welcome an American.
Well,
coming
especially from an American, yeah.
in. Coming in and
that's what would sell it.
Clever wordplay while appropriating their regional cuisine. I think that'll go over very well. It's an idea. So yeah, call it Pho Chi Minh. I think it's a very practical and implementable thing that they should do. All right. Let's move right on along here. We got some super chats to get to, some rumble rants to get to, and some segments. We do have some results though that are coming in now.
Oh, we do already.
To share. Yeah, they are preliminary, but these are real numbers. The gay mafia is on the march. The gay mafia looks like it's going to be transgender for everybody, folks. Ed Gallrein, backed by the gay trans mafia, the weirdos and the freaks, as Thomas Massie's PAC said. Right? Gallrein values are freak values. Well, freak values, it is Kentucky's getting freaky so far. 55-45 in favor of the APAC-backed Ed Gallrein. Of course, these are very, very low numbers so far, so can't glean too much from these. Apparently, if we look at the corner here, apparently this area, Spencer County, as I understand it, that is Gallrein's home county, but only 45 votes in from there, so not much turnout to speak of so far. Yeah. The northern parts of the district are the most populous. Those are the Cincinnati suburbs, so right across the river here is Cincinnati, Ohio.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, right now these results are meaningless, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's only 3% of the vote. And, I mean, you can kind of take these as, I guess, a poll of sorts, but they're only from certain parts of the district. And so it's impossible to really glean too much from those as of now. But we will, of course, be getting to more of the results as the evening progresses. I got to say, I think that it's going to be a bad night for the Republican Party either way. Because when you think about it, if Massie wins, that's a huge embarrassment to Trump, which is, of course, bad for the party.
Yeah.
But if Massie loses, I really think you are going to see a splintering off of, like, the principled populist libertarian conservatives from the Republican Party, much in the way you saw a splintering off of principled populist leftists after the Bernie debacles. Right? Like, there were a lot of people who exited after that because they realized this is just so fucking rigged against us. It's so impossible to do anything within this party that, if a guy like Massie, who won unanimously, like literally he runs unopposed. So in the last election, he ran against a write-in candidate who ran as an independent. He got, literally over 99% of the vote. So you're talking about a guy who's pretty popular, who gets forced out by the Israel lobby. At that point, like, if you're a principled anti-war, anti-PDF file libertarian conservative, don't you have to have the same kind of realization that a lot of us had after 2020, or many of us after 2016? Like, what's the point of engaging in this party? So I think either way, it's going to be a very tough night for them.
Yes. And unlike the hapless left, I believe that a Tucker, Candace, Marjorie Taylor Greene driven kind of movement will be able to form a third party.
Could be.
I think that's probably where they would go with that.
Very possible. Very possible. The other thing is, I don't know that whoever loses the primary tonight is necessarily going to drop out. I have a strong feeling if Gallrein loses, he will stay in. Because I don't think AIPAC puts $15 million into a race and then, we lost the primary. Oh, shucks. I guess never mind. Yeah. Right? I mean, people in power who are serious about maintaining power, i.e. people who are not named Bernard Sanders, they don't lay down that easy, Look what happened when India Walton won that mayoral primary in Buffalo. The incumbent stayed in, ran as a write-in, and won.
Yeah.
So that could very well happen too. And I don't know if Massie has plans to do that. It's a lot harder to do that when you're not funded by every special interest group under the sun, because you don't have that guaranteed money stream coming in. But we will see. We will see. We will obviously keep an eye on the results as the evening progresses. You want to take some super chats and rumble rants before we get started with the segments?
Sure.
All right.
All right. Nocturnal Human. Got some more good news about New York you might be interested in about the bees. I mean, I can't look at that right now. But
Can't look at that right now. Although you did want to break some news about the birds, but I guess we'll do the birds on Thursday.
We'll do the birds on Thursday. I didn't get to it. Race car, man, guys. If Massie loses this, then there's no hope for us. You know, like, look, man, I want to bring people down, but I tell you, man, I know this is coming whenever I do a segment like this. So my brother Keaton here, he dropped the Mamdani Peter Tear tax video, and coming back from a place where people are just not as programmed. It's hard to take, man. It's not like we always know when we do a segment like that, you're going to get people whose brains have been broken by propaganda. Like they've had people like Kevin O'Leary just doing this to their brain from the day they popped out of their mama, and they just can't even see straight. I look at that and it's hard, man. It's hard. It just seems so hopeless when you see how many people in this country like literally can't see straight. Like they're just gone,
and on top of all that, this is Kentucky we're talking about. Add to that, it's Kentucky. So
like it's one thing you have like honest debates and honest disagreements, but there's no world where working people honestly get angry about taxing second homes. There's just no world like that.
Yeah.
And there's no way that's not you having your mind programmed and fucked with day after day. Like there's just no way. And then you'll see, like, in order to not take it on that way, because that's a hard position, they'll be like, yeah, well, they're deferring pensions. I mean, okay. All right. Well, so I mean, but is that why you're really angry about this, or did somebody tell you to get really riled up about that, to distract from the other? Like what? It doesn't. People don't act like this. When you go other places, that becomes very clear. People don't act like that. They just don't act like that. Like if they disagree, they act normal. They act normal. Right. They're not like so furious all the time and surly like that. That's programming, man. And I knew I was going to feel that way when I came back, and I definitely do. Like I look at that and I'm like, what do you, how do you fix that, man? How do you fix that? Like you're talking about a whole population where a good portion of them don't even know what they think because they've been told what they think their whole lives, and they've been told it's their idea.
Right. Exactly. That's it. Welcome back to Crazy Town.
That's a very good way.
I see people saying Keaton's clock is stopped at 3:30. Coincidence? No, I told you before. I say I'm running a psychological operation on Kurt Metzger. That's the point of this. I'm running a psyop on him. That's why I stopped it at 3:30.
It's a Sopranos reference.
I did that on purpose. Yeah.
Vianticus Prime, everything's a scam, everything's a lie, everything's hypocrisy, and so you don't comply. Man, I've been getting in trouble with authorities since I was born, man. E.F. Husseau, that clown fake Pastor Candace is interviewing now is insufferable, but the Hunter Biden interview dropping Thursday should be juicy. Yeah, that'll be interesting.
That should be awesome.
I bet he fucked Ashley Sinclair. Biden. Corn Pop Chronicles table read went off the rails. Helen Shaw and Kitty Kelly devolved into name calling. Our publisher vanished. Now whispers of a Village Voice hit piece. Not good, believe me, not good. The only thing you messed up there is the Village Voice went under like 20 years ago. But the rest of it, you nailed it. E.F. Husseau, isn't awesome to see all those beagles rescued from animal testing. Oh, did that succeed?
Oh,
I saw that was going on out of the corner of my eye, but I didn't see that they succeeded.
That's good
Mark
news.
Pugliese, listen, man, I'm gonna tell you folks something. I know it's gonna bother some of you China shills, the literal one and the figurative ones. And I'm not saying this is like everywhere, or it's common, or you see it on the menu everywhere, man. But I think this was in Chongqing, right? Yeah, it was in Chongqing, I think. And you know, I like to walk everywhere, and sometimes Google Maps will send you some really funky ways. So it sent me through like a neighborhood, and you don't have a lot of like Western tourists in Chongqing as it is. So it's not really set up like that. So this is like a neighborhood. There's like a neighborhood where people like me do not walk through this neighborhood. They don't see people like me. And they have some dogs in cages there, and those were not pet shops, and those were not pets, my friend. That was dinner. There were some dogs in cages that were absolutely dinner. Broke my heart, man. Broke my heart. And I'm not saying that's everywhere it's common, but common enough that you had that going on in that neighborhood. I know for sure, because that was the only time the entire time I was in China that people got mad I was filming. Because they know people don't like that shit, so they came up and got in my face about it. Mark Pugliese, hey you guys, sorry for annoying you with my question about Myanmar. I wasn't trying to suggest you should have gone there too. No, we took it in a spirit of humor.
That's right. Yeah, we took it in a spirit of humor. It's now a running joke.
Yeah, we did get annoyed about it.
Yeah, it's now a running joke on the show.
We're good. Professor Brown notes, saw the Blue Dahlia yesterday. Alan Ladd sounds like shady deals. What's more, he was from Arkansas. There you go. Also, Veronica Lake was 4'11". Small world. Was she 4'11"?
Was she?
I never knew that. Me shoot skeet. Super sticker. Thank you, my friend. Nocturnal Human. You both have matching wood backgrounds. It looks nice and intentional. No, we don't.
Well, he's got a wood shelf, but I got the wood trim. Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll take Jose's.
Yeah, we'll take Jose's.
Flaring Independence. Our party name is Speak the Truth. Is that the party name? I like that.
That's the ballot name. All right, cool. I like that.
Cool.
Congratulations, Jose Vega, candidate for the Speak the Truth party in November. That is good for you, my friend. Congratulations, and thanks for the shout out in the video. That was funny. I like that. All right. Let's move right on along here. What are we at here? We're still at only 4% in. Gay Mafia 55. God-fearing Americans 44. So those are the numbers as they stand right now.
I mean, we need Cool Blue to tell us what's going on with these districts.
Yeah. You know, I didn't call in Cool Blue for tonight because there was only one race that we're watching, you know. So I didn't want to be presumptuous, but yeah, so far it's looking like it's transgender for everybody so far in the lead. You know, they have horse racing in Kentucky is big. They should name a horse transgender for everybody at the Kentucky Derby. Coming up on the outside, it's transgender for everybody. Here he goes. He's on the outside. It's a photo finish, and it's transgender for everybody. First place.
Followed by Hunter Schaefer's fake pussy.
It's transgender for everybody, Hunter Schaefer's fake pussy, and vomit on your mother's tits. That's the trifecta. That's the trifecta this year. That's the big winner this year, coming in at 3,500 to 1 odds. Yes, that would be good. You should name horses like funny names like that. But transgender for everybody should be a horse, definitely.
That should be a horse. I'll suggest it to my dad. You know, he's a horse trainer.
Yeah, he's a horse trainer. Call him name a horse.
See what he says.
Transgender.
Well, you know, he's got serious MSNBC brain rot, so he might go for it.
You might go for it. Yeah, why not? Why not? I like that. I think that's funny. All right, let's move on to some stories tonight. Okay, so a few days ago, this broke here from Ali Vargas, whose tweets we're going to be using as sources for much of this segment. Breaking: U.S. Armed Forces and Bolivian police are preparing a joint operation to kidnap Evo Morales and massacre the indigenous communities in the vicinity. Police officers opposed to the plan have leaked documents confirming the operation. And then he follows this up. Thousands of union workers have surrounded Evo Morales' rural residence to protect him. The documents acknowledge this and confirm that they will launch the armed assault regardless. They're already referring to protesters as human shields. Okay, so many of you probably know this, but some of you may not, since Evo Morales' name has not been in the news for some years, since he was essentially forced out of office because of pressure to accept that his re-election results were faked, which was just absolutely absurd on so many levels. But yeah, there's the headline from 2019. Bolivian President Evo Morales resigns amid election protests. Greenwald covered this pretty extensively at the time. And he appeared on Rising. This is a blast from the past in so many ways. I left the theme song in and everything because this is Crystal and Sagar back on Rising.
Oh, wow.
Greenwald.
Back when people watched it.
Back when people watched it. Yeah, interviewing
that show,
Greenwald about it.
Fell completely off a cliff.
Yeah, no. Now it's the low testosterone Johnny Bravo guy. I forget his name. I honestly don't even recall his name. What is his name? Robbie Suave. Robbie Suave. That's it. Yeah. And then I don't even know who the partner is. But anyway, this is back when people watched that show. So here's Greenwald explaining the circumstances under which Morales was forced out of office. Just absolutely absurd.
Bolivian President Evo Morales
Look at this.
forced
The theme
out of
music.
the country
Look how young
due to
everybody is.
allegations of voting fraud during his
Spring
fourth
chickens.
presidential election.
Simpler
the basis
times.
for those claims came from a report done by the Organization of American States, which cited widespread deliberate election fraud.
Now, as friend of the show, Glenn Greenwald writes,
So the Organization for American States, obviously a deep state operation.
turns out the report was more concerning than the election results. And Glenn is the co-founding editor of The Intercept. And he
Back
joins
when
us
Glenn
now to
worked for
discuss
The
the report
Intercept.
along with those who embraced it as a reason to remove Morales. Great to see you, Glenn.
Good to see you, Glenn.
Good to be with you guys.
Could you just take everybody through this story for folks who haven't been following it closely?
Yeah, I think it's important to take a step back just quickly about the Morales presidency. He was elected in 2005, became president in 2006, and at the time, Bolivia was a really struggling political framework. They had barely any stability. They had, in the year before he was elected, 3 different presidents just in 1 year. And he really stabilized the country. And even though he was kind of a socialist and center-left candidate, he quickly started mounting up successes, even from the perspective of people like The Economist and the World Bank. There was economic growth in Bolivia. He was distributing equitably, but not radically. It was really an amazing success story. He was incredibly popular, the first indigenous president from a country that has a majority indigenous population. And his popularity was so great that when he went to go for a run for a third term, they tried to impose term limits on him. And then the fourth term that he tried to seek in 2019 was kind of controversial because he had become increasingly hostile to the United States, to ideologies of neoliberalism, to international institutions interfering in Bolivia. And so there was a lot of controversy, but he was clearly still the most popular candidate. He won the election in October of 2019. Under Bolivian law, you have to win by 10 points, by 10 percentage points over your next nearest competitor in order to avoid a runoff. And the election board certified 2 days after the election that he had just gotten above the 10% threshold. And that.
Okay, so think about that. Just first of all, just that statistic alone shows you what bullshit it was that he was forced out. In America, you could lose the election and still become the president. You could lose the popular vote and still win. There, you have to win by 10 in order to avoid a runoff. So there was never any question that he was the choice of the, convincing majority of the people. The question was, did he win by 10?
Was when the right wing of Bolivia, which is this white Christian reactionary pretty aggressive faction, started claiming voter fraud. The Organization of American States swept in, did a very preliminary audit, issued a report on November 10th, finding that there was deliberate voter fraud, that the election was essentially not fair, and the military and the police joined together with the support of the United States to tell him, look, you better leave Bolivia or we can no longer guarantee your safety. And he fled to Mexico where he got asylum.
Okay, so that's how he was forced out of power. They basically said, look, things are going to get violent. You could get hurt. A lot of people could get hurt. And he said, all right, you know what? In the interest of avoiding that, I'll step down. So that's why he is not the leader of Bolivia anymore. But of course, he was a very popular leader while he was, and still obviously pulls a lot of weight amongst the working class in Bolivia. And as Glenn said, he was center left. He's basically a Bernie guy. He's not a Marxist Leninist. He was a democratic socialist. Like, he was pretty mild compared to a lot of what South America has seen come and go over the years, quote unquote. Evo Morales tweets out, the North American empire not only wants to eliminate me physically, it wants to invade Bolivia to seize its natural resources like lithium. We hold the world's largest reserves of that metal. Foreign mercenaries and pirates have already begun to act in coordination with the government of Rodrigo Paz, that's the neoliberal who governs Bolivia now, and his right-wing allies. As always, their first attacks are lies and insults. They invent pretexts to invade with violence, massacre the people, and plunder our wealth. Yeah, they're saying that he had sex with a 15-year-old while he was prime minister, which in the United States, nothing happens when you do that. So I don't really know why they're looking into that. But that is the accusation.
Oh, I mean, that just puts him in company with David Bowie.
Hey, look, he's trying to be diplomatic. You know, he's trying to. That's an olive branch to the Epstein class. You know, you always say these people are not reasonable. You can't work with them. That's a gesture of goodwill. In
puts him in the club.
That puts him in the club in the U.S. I mean, he's just trying to blend in, you know. So, yeah, Bolivia's new president rekindles cautious hope for long-stalled lithium dreams. This is last year. So, of course, this is an age-old story, folks. Nothing new under the sun here. The puppet is trying to open up the natural resources to corporate interest. Not only nothing new, the Spanish were in South America, in Bolivia, for the minerals. They were there for the minerals. This goes back hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. Of course, Bolivia gets its name from famous trans activist Simon Bolivar. That's what everybody knows. Bolivia's election of centrist Rodrigo Paz is raising cautious hopes that a more market-friendly leader could pave the way for international investment in the country's ample lithium reserves after years of false starts under 2 decades of socialist rule. In other words, after 2 decades of pain-in-the-ass people who didn't want to play ball and sell off the country's natural resources to American corporations, now we might be able to actually get somewhere. Bolivia holds the world's largest resources of the ultralight metal used in the electric vehicle batteries, but development has been hamstrung by political opposition and a law mandating state control of the sector that has chilled broad investor interest. Remember Elon's famous tweet, "We'll coup whoever we want"? He was talking about lithium in Bolivia and talking about Evo Morales. It's all coming back to you now, isn't it? Well, Evo Morales recently sat for an interview with the Gray Zone, so this is translated here, but he describes the political dynamics underlying this new development here, where they're trying to essentially kidnap Evo Morales and facing, of course, massive groundswells of pressure from a working class uprising protesting the neoliberal policies of the current government. Everything kind of coming to a head at once here, not coincidentally, in my opinion.
Up in office by accident due to the ban preventing. I deeply regret that the current president ended up in office by accident due to the ban preventing Evo from running for the presidency. There was a runoff election, and all 3 candidates were from the right wing, Doria, Tudo, and Rodrigo Paz, who comes from the same family. Furthermore, they had governed for 20 years under a neoliberal regime, from 1985 to 2005. They left behind a beggar state, dependent on handouts. We took office in 2005, and 14 years later, we left behind a state with an average annual economic growth rate of nearly 5%. This was thanks to pro-people policies, the recovery of our natural resources, and the nationalization of basic services. We pursued economic policies and social programs that directly contradicted the prescriptions of capitalism. We never submitted to the dictates of the International Monetary Fund, which advocates for a minimal state, a state that merely regulates but does not invest. During our administration, we achieved growth and stability and lifted 38% of the population out of extreme poverty. We left the country with a 12% growth rate and, as part of our bicentennial plan, a target of 0% extreme poverty. Over the course of 180 years, from 1825 to 2005, they had left us with a GDP of just $9 billion. By 2019, the year of the coup, our gross domestic product had reached $42 billion.
That's not bad for a communist, not bad for a socialist, I think.
The coup was carried out specifically to halt that progress and dismantle our economic model. I have come to realize that capitalism simply cannot tolerate the existence of any economic model other than neoliberalism. Our political movement, formerly known as the MASIPSP, and now called Evo Pueblo.
See, even that, I just want to pause it, even that's a fairly conciliatory way of putting it. Like, you may say capitalism can exist without fascism. Capitalism can exist without imperialism. Capitalism can exist without terrorism and violence. But no, like I said, like, he's not a Marxist-Leninist. Like, he's actually fairly accommodating to business. He just has this thing where he cares about his own people. You know, that's what's really inconvenient about him. Yeah, exactly.
Possesses a clear vision for the country. For instance, back in 2013 to 2014, we projected that by 2030, we would have 41 lithium processing plants in operation. The coup brought those plans to a halt. Now the intention is to hand over our lithium resources to transnational corporations. I could say much more about this, but the new government, subservient to the empire, to the North American empire, is transforming us through the neoliberal model into a neo-colonial state. This brief period has demonstrated that the plurinational state is sacrosanct and that the Constitution shall not be amended. This means we will not allow basic services, much less our natural resources, to be privatized. It means respect for our identity, for dignity rooted in identity, and for our political and economic sovereignty.
Yeah, can't talk that stuff. That is dangerous talk. Economic sovereignty, dignity.
Sounds like Ho Chi Minh.
Yeah, national identity. That's all very, very dangerous
Saw that
talk.
ended up.
Yeah, exactly. So here's some footage of these protests, of these workers' uprisings here. Bolivia's indigenous communities march on the Capitol as U.S.-backed government prepares to suppress protests against neoliberal agenda. A massive march led by Bolivia's indigenous communities is set to arrive in La Paz today on a collision course with security forces operating under orders to suppress demonstrations that have shaken the government of President Rodrigo Paz. Road blockades across the country have already triggered shortages of food, medicine, and fuel. The protests are rooted in deep anger at Paz's neoliberal economic reforms, privatization of services, dismantling of the plurinational state, a new U.S.-backed war on drugs pushed through at the expense of the indigenous communities and social movements that brought him to power, meaning Evo. So the government has responded by labeling protesters terrorists and delinquents and signaling it will use force to suppress the march. So here are some protests in the city. And here's some more footage of the march to the Capitol. And here, even in the rural areas, this is what Bolivia's general strike looks like in rural areas. All the villages occupy the stretch of highway nearest to them, cutting off all trade and travel between cities. This is in Tarac province, Cochabamba. Hope I said that right. I think I got that right.
O convoca coigo hermanos maranipi convoca waigocho ni tanipi paga waigocho ni tanipi no gaigota ni waigos forza waigocho nispa que bloqueamos chinispa no gai voluntariamente amoigo bloquea hermanos hinallamantata casillanta.
And Breakthrough News did a nice little report on this, just a kind of a broad overview of things. Let's take a quick look. Because this damn Rodrigo Paz is discriminating against Evo, he is repressing him. We will not allow it. As residents and neighbors of El Alto join the provinces that are here present, we will not allow them to repress us in that way. The government does not intimidate us. We are not afraid. We will be in the streets until the very end. And there's some of the police repression, of course. These are scenes in the city. And as you can see, they are firing some live rounds there. So here is one of the protesters here, Ali Vargas, says, our sources within the Bolivian police have confirmed that they've received orders to use live ammunition against the indigenous Long March that is arriving today in the capital. Protesters are aware and heading down regardless to defend the country and its natural resources. Now, a lot of these videos were Spanish language without subtitles, and so I ran them through our translator app here. So this translation is likely not perfect, but you get a sense of what she's saying here. I'll read along.
Las órdenes del
He received the orders
las órdenes del
of
gobierno
the central government and the Minister of Defense
para disparar
to
a
shoot
su pueblo
at his
por
people to defend
defender de los 9
the 9 departments,
a su país, a sus
his
recursos
country,
naturales.
and its natural resources.
Queremos hacer conocer
We want to
al
make the
pueblo
Bolivian
boliviano,
people
a los
know
organismos internacionales,
the international
al defensor
organizations,
del pueblo,
the
a la
people's
prensa
defender, the
internacional,
international press,
al mundo entero, que lo
the
que
whole
vaya
world,
a pasar hoy
what is going to
día,
happen today.
genocidio,
Genocide.
otro octubre
Another
negro,
Black October
va a ser la
will be the total
responsabilidad
responsibility
del gobierno central.
of the central government. Okay. So, as we see here, more police clashes. Police in Bolivia fired tear gas at protesters in La Paz. Miners and unions marched on the presidential palace, demanding that Rodrigo Paz step down over a worsening fuel shortage and economic crisis. Bolivian miners clash with police. President Paz should govern, not pit us against one another as brothers. Our brothers are here. Even my son is back there, facing off against me. So I guess his son is a cop. That is not what we indigenous peoples want. That is why we are telling our brother, the president, we have given you power, but you have not been able to govern. All right, and this part of a kind of a pattern, part of a strategy of late and of not so late, but particularly of late here. So here's a report from drop site Honduras Gate. Key leaked audio files revealing U.S. intervention in Honduras found authentic with modern confidence. Analysis by Earshot found that 3 leaked Honduras Gate audio files revealing a complex plot by Washington to sideline leftist governments in Mexico and Colombia are likely to be authentic. President Donald Trump's brazen intervention in November 2025 in the Honduran presidential election to openly call for a vote for the national party's Nuestra Afuera came as a surprise to many both inside and outside Honduras. Given Trump's emphasis on the need to combat so-called narco-trafficking groups in Latin America, his decision to simultaneously pardon former Honduran President Juan Orlando Hernandez. Yeah, remember that? Doesn't that seem like it was 3-4 years ago? No, that was, what was that, 7 months ago? Who was convicted in March 2024 in a New York court of a series of drug trafficking-related charges, raised even more questions. I think that when Hernandez was pardoned, a lot of people were wondering why he was pardoned, and now we have the answer, which is that he had a role to play. Stephanie Weatherby Brito, Secretary of the International People's Assembly and an expert on Latin American politics, told Drop Site News. Leaked audio files published by the Spanish outlet Diario Red in collaboration with Honduran journalists who together launched a website called Honduras Gate offer an explanation. Together, they purport to reveal a transnational conspiracy led by Hernandez involving the United States, Honduras, and who else, of course? Israel, and who else, of course? Argentina, aimed at undermining and destabilizing leftist governments in Latin America. The 37 leaked audio files include voice notes from messaging apps recorded by multiple speakers and 2 phone calls. The coordinated effort reportedly involves some of the most important political actors in Honduras, with the goal of returning Hernandez to the presidency following his pardon, repositioning the country as a strategic ally for the U.S. and Israel in the region, and creating a media outlet with the express mission to undermine leftist governments in Mexico and Colombia. Remember this story that we did a while back? Mainstream media hypes AstroTurf Mexican protests. Those kind of make a little more sense now in light of this reporting, do they not? We know Donald Trump has been talking about arresting Gustavo Petro of Colombia, kind of coming together, is it not? Now, here's the Argentine Minister of Defense here. At the request of the plurinational state of Bolivia, a C-130 Hercules from Argentina will carry out air connections over the next 7 days to assist in the distribution of food and essential supplies provided by the Bolivian authorities and intended for their population. The mission, coordinated together with Cancilleria Argentina, whatever that is in response to a humanitarian aid and regional cooperation action, making available the logistic and operational capabilities of our armed forces. But here, Bolivian deputy reports that Milei is sending tear gas to Bolivia, not just food and humanitarian supplies, according to him, to suppress the marches demanding the resignation of the far-right Paz. Not one step back, the Bolivian people will triumph. So let's take a look at this. This is also translated through our app here.
De parte de militares.
Sorry, I'll lower this volume a little bit. Here we go.
We
We received reports from the military that the second flight of the Air Force of Argentina is arriving with tear gas. This is trampling on the political constitution of the state. Let's not forget that there is a criminal process against the military in the year 2019. Today, the Bolivian people will not solve this problem with tear gas, with bullets. And they lie. They say that they are bringing humanitarian aid. They are bringing gas, which I'm going to ask for uniform requests, not only the armed forces here in Bolivia, but also that of Argentina, so that the lies are unfortunately denied. And it's very unfortunate that this government wants to silence the population with tear gas and bullets. Yep. So people are taking things into their own hands, like I said, from the cities to the rural areas. In Bolivia, indigenous people and campesinos are blocking airport runways with trees
it's country people.
Oh, okay. There you go. See? Spanish speaker in the house here. Are blocking airport runways with trees to prevent Argentina's far-right president, Javier Milei, from delivering military aid to the Bolivian regime, plans to send to the government. That is almost certainly going to be a copyright hassle there. But there you can see people heading out and blocking the runway there. Block airport runway to prevent Malay's military shipments to Bolivian regime. Okay, so to break this down, once again, I think you kind of get the picture. Like I said, it's kind of an old story retold over and over again, history kind of repeating itself. But this goes back, in the case of South America, Bolivia, in particular, hundreds of years to the 16th century when they had to fight off the Spaniards. And here with some historical context and current analysis is Rick Sanchez. So let's take a look. He kind of breaks this down.
Is a historic mess. Look, Latin America is a historic mess. I'm from there. It was colonized and brutalized first by the Spaniards, and then the U.S. picked up the ball and they ran with it. And to be honest with you, Washington has been just as bad, if not worse, than the Spanish were, right? In fact, I can say this. The colonization is really still happening to this day in Latin America. but with puppet regimes and leaders who are chosen and then trained and then controlled by Washington. And I'm going to give you an example of one of these folks, right? This guy right here, who you're about to see on the screen, that's Rodrigo Paz of Bolivia. There he is with Marco Rubio, my friend from Miami. And here's what you need to know about this guy, Rodrigo Paz, right? Trained in Washington, D.C., where he became a part of the D.C. establishment, went to school at American University, and since then, he returned to Bolivia to essentially turn his country into a satellite state of the United States. But Bolivians don't seem to be happy with that. They don't like that. They want the guy that they used to have as their president, and that would be this guy. Change, boom. That's Evo Morales. Now, he may be liked by the people of Bolivia. There's no question about that because he's one of them, but he's despised by Washington for having, quote, leftist tendencies. I mean, there he is with Chavez and with Fidel Castro. So leftist tendencies, right? Sound familiar?
Not even that leftist, like I said. Not even as far left as any of those other two. But still too far for comfort. And, you know, you report this news and, you know, the only thing I have to say about it is that it's just kind of truly astounding to think about how people in power can be so blind to the dynamics of history. Like, don't you understand that the fatal flaw of empires in their final days is that they overextend and they pick fights that they can't sustain? Like, this goes back thousands of years. You think these seem like the kind of chuds who would be obsessed with ancient Rome. You remember that thing that came out a year and a half ago? I think we did a segment on it. Why do men think about ancient Rome all the time?
Yeah.
These MAGA chuds seem like the exact kind of fucking losers who would think about ancient Rome every 45 seconds. Well, if you think about ancient Rome that often,
you
don't
do
you
know
understand?
I have a Julius Caesar pen holder, right?
Sorry, didn't mean for you to catch
Okay.
a stray there.
All right, watch it.
Watch it. Careful what you say about ancient Rome. Don't you have any sense of history at all? Like, don't you understand that you can't sustain this level of cravenness? Like, even if you have no moral bone in your body, which of course Marco Rubio does not, of course Donald Trump does not, like it's meaningless to try and appeal to them on that level. Don't you understand this is doomed to fail? Don't you understand you can't just go around the world toppling every government that you don't like forever? Hasn't the Ukraine war taught us that we're kind of at the end of the line? Hasn't this whole quagmire in Iran, where you're forced to extend ceasefire after ceasefire after ceasefire because you know you can't win, isn't that a hint? Isn't that a hint? You're really going to try this? It is just I don't want to say it's sad, because it's not sad in the sense that I don't hope for the toppling of these South American governments, but it is just astounding, the arrogance that apparently, as a fact of history, just accompanies the end of empire, no matter how many times a precedent is set that this cannot work and is doomed to fail, and that you're always going to run into the exact kind of problems that you're running into here. Nobody seems to learn. There's just a cravenness and a bloodlust that just does not listen to reason. It cannot listen to reason. That seems to be what it is here.
Yeah, well, you look at this, and this is where very often, liberals, certainly conservatives, get drawn into the proposition that communism and or socialism lead to totalitarian and authoritarianism. No, they don't. Constant attempts to overthrow your government do. Right. Because when you look at the governments that have attempted to do that, that did not install very strict security measures and close their borders and control their media, they get infiltrated. They get AstroTurf protests. They get coups. They get CIA black ops in their country. That's how I felt going through China, man, because the Chinese people, they're not restive. So who is all that for? It's for us. It's for us, so that we don't do to them what we're doing to South America. The countries that have survived after fighting brutal, bloody campaigns to resist these kinds of attempts to impose Western hegemony in their countries. And what they learned from that is these people are satanic. Like, whatever you have to do, you got to do it to keep them out. Because the second they see an opening, they'll kill you. And we really don't leave them any choice. So I came away saying with China, man, for a country that's surrounded by American military bases, I think they're remarkably open, actually. Like, if we're 75% of the way to being fascist now. And there's nobody surrounding us.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Like the fact that a guy like me could just go there with an American passport and just run around without any problems. Can you imagine what we'd be like if we had Chinese bases? Oh, yeah. No, Chinese people would just go to the Grand Canyon. Sure.
Of course.
Sure,
Right.
that's how we would handle that.
Yeah. I mean, people are having a hard time getting in now for the World Cup.
Exactly. You know, yesterday I took my first bike ride to the Battery since I've been back. I was very curious. Yeah, man. For this time of year, this should be peak student tour season. I didn't see one student tour group. And I'm going to like the places you would see them. I rode to the Battery. I rode through Midtown. I rode through Central Park. I didn't see freaking one.
Wow.
I didn't see one. And I could see like the streets have maybe 1/3 the number of people they should have on them for May. For May in New York City, like it should be packed. And it's really not. It's really not. But yeah, no, this is a perfect example. Like, this is why the countries with socialist or communist governments that survive and thrive, they have security measures. They don't have open societies. You can't even have the openness of democracy because we'll do a Maidan coup on you. We'll take advantage of your openness to overthrow your government if you do that.
Well, to your point, I mean, that's exactly what happened in Morales' case because he is especially accommodating to democracy and democratic
he never
norms.
should have stepped down.
He stepped down because, you know what? All right, we don't want a bloodbath on our hands. I'll step down and give him an inch, take a mile. But he's also very accommodating to markets. And this is why I say over and over again, most people who say, well, I'm for capitalism, but I'm for regulation. No, what you're for are markets. You're for regulated markets. Markets exist without capitalism. Capitalism is the financialization of markets. Okay, but markets can exist without capitalism. Just because you believe in someone's right to sell something to another person in exchange for money, that doesn't make you a capitalist. That makes you a believer in markets. And one of the things that Morales talks about in the Gray Zone interview is that the new government is imposing a regressive tax on like small farmers, whereas he only taxed the big farmers. So that flies in the face of a lot of people's understanding of leftism and socialism, but it's about higher taxes for everybody. No, Morales was actually particularly accommodating to markets and to democratic systems, and this is where it got him in a way that makes him a bigger threat to the international order than the Marxist Leninists. Why? Just like they went all out against Mamdani. Why? Because Mamdani proved you can balance a budget just by taxing rich people more. Right. You don't have to upend the entire system to make real gains for ordinary people. They don't want the truth getting out about that. They want you to believe that, hey, if you want higher wages, that comes with state censorship. It comes with not being able to leave the country anymore. Right? It comes with totalitarianism. So when you get these social democrats in who are able to create space for working people to live better lives without the kind of radicalism that the right tries to fearmonger about, in a way they come even harder at those people because they prove that no, actually, this dystopia that you try to paint leftism as is not actually real. So that is, I think, a big part of why they're coming after him. And of course, it's like I said, it goes back centuries, the obsession with minerals in South America. That's not a new thing. That's not even a relatively recent thing. That is an age-old thing at this point. And so some things never change. All right. Let's move on to some Super Chats and some Rumble Rants here. Dark Angelic a pitcher's duel in Kentucky so far. Yeah, let's do an update on Kentucky, actually. Thank you for reminding me about that.
Let's see what's going on over there.
Let's see what's going on.
That's why we're doing a night show.
Over in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Hey, before we do that, we're at 2601 in the YouTube chat.
In the year 2525.
And 963 in the like column. All right, let's take a look. What do we got over here? Come on. Cooperate. There we go. Thank you. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. The gay mafia's running away with it so far. 13% in. 57 to 43 for Gallrein. Not looking good. Not looking good.
We don't know anything about these counties, though.
I mean, it's fat white people. That's who lives in Kentucky.
I mean, but there have got to be
overweight whites.
I was Hunter Thompson's hometown voting.
I'm sorry. I do have a particular hard-on for Kentucky. I've told this story on the air a few times. I won't tell you the long version. You know, I worked at Radio City Music Hall. It's an old building. There's elevators and there's stairwells. And so, you know, the people who were disabled or whatnot would ask to use the elevators instead of the stairs. Or if you had an elderly person who couldn't do stairs, they would take the elevators. And because it's a big tourist attraction, you know, we had a lot of spring break trips come through and take the tour. And because you have a lot of spring break trips, you have certain weeks where it's like mostly people from one area. So we'd have a Toronto week where all the school groups from Toronto are there. And then
that's part of what's killing them. The freaking Canadians aren't coming.
They're not coming. Right. Exactly. Then we had a Los Angeles week where everybody's there from Southern California, right? Or we had a Chicago week, a Florida week. We had people from the South, people from all over. Everybody's least favorite week was Kentucky week because they didn't want to move. They didn't want to do stairs. They would bitch and complain that the place is too big. There's too many stairs on the tour. The elevator's too small. It takes too long. So that's what you're dealing with here. That's what you're dealing with. So for everybody who says, hey, it's all riding on this tonight, that's what it's riding on. That's what it's riding on. Yeah. Ain't that America? Okay, I just want to give everybody a little perspective.
I mean, I'm very curious. In the analytics, do they give us a state-by-state breakdown? Because I want to see if our Kentucky viewership drops off after this.
Oh, Ed Gallrein dominates the overweight Caucasian vote, cruises to landslide victory against Thomas Massie. Yeah, it doesn't look good so far, folks. I gotta tell you, not good. Believe me, not good.
Wins canned meats vote.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. We have a nice lady running in Texas 35, a new district. Yeah, the Texas primaries are next week. And apparently, I think Trump just endorsed Paxton for governor, who's the MAGA guy. So we'll see how that goes. That means he'll almost certainly win the nomination, which means Democrats, you got the exact matchup you wanted in that race. You got Tallarico versus Paxton. Couldn't have drawn that up any better. Now it's yours to lose, which if you're a Democrat, that means you probably will lose it. Furrow Squeen Fire Dancer. Sorry to blow my own trumpet, but I passed a really important exam today. Pray for the people in the northeast of England whose health is in my hands. Check your tablets. Oh, really? Are you working for the NHS now? That's cool.
Oh, so you're working for Palantir.
Working for Palantir. There you go. Vientikis. I remember in one of MLK Jr.'s speeches, he said the reason why the U.S. invaded Vietnam was because they ousted their Hitler-loving dictator. Thank you, Vientikis. Michael R., thank you guys for honoring Malcolm X.
Of course.
Don't we look like the types?
It's an honor to honor him.
Yeah. Don't we look like the types who would honor Malcolm X? Ed Gallrein's 8 tours of duty didn't prepare him for sucking Muriel Baleson's dick, but it turned out he was a natural. Exactly.
I would beg to differ.
Yeah.
It's cold out in the desert.
It gets cold out in that desert there. Relinquiry Prime, thanks for the $50. Let's have a prayer bell. Thank you very much, good friend. Russ, I'm 7 months behind in live streams. Wow, I'm at the episode just before you take Jose to the play. I'll pay big if the next episode has a video of Jose jumping up in the middle and shouting out at the players, call that acting? You're just a sad old drunk.
You're talking about on my channel.
Yeah, on the Russ on the Road.
Well, that's not that many videos to catch up on.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. On the Russ on the Road. Yeah, 7 months of this show would be like, what, 50 streams, something like that? A lot of streams. Please keep track of Harlan and Hazard counties, says Eric Rousseau.
Just a good old boy.
What's the Bo and Luke vote looking like? Cooter be voting for? Yeah. Yeah. I don't know.
That show, did they ever say what state that show was in?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Where has that? Yeah,
That's a good question.
Where?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I never watched the show, but I don't know if they ever actually localized
when I was a child.
Roachy boy, isn't the New York house tax for homes over 5 million? Yes, second homes over 5 million. Like even those towards the top of the tree can't even imagine having a second crib to crash in when they pop into New York. Tax the rich, eat the rich. Thanks, Roachy boy. Appreciate that. Vientikis, well, here's some good news. The Stop Killing Games movement is making headway in California and the EU. They'll be important for consumer rights in general. Gamers get shit done. There you go. Congratulations, Vientikis. George Gunnell, the Kentucky candidate who best represents the San Diego mosque haters, seems poised for victory over Massie. Yep. Yeah, we're going to cover the San Diego mosque shooting later on in the show. But yeah, he's doing well. Virtuoso, I want Massie to win tonight, but unfortunately I don't trust the Kentucky voters in making the right decision. Hence, Mitch McConnell is still in office. Yep. Jim Taleb, thanks for the $2. Appreciate that. Vientikis says, as part of my personal strife to strip convoluted connotations from words, I'm not going to use the word capitalism and make it truer to its original and actual meaning by saying capitalism. And by original, I mean referring to the origin of its parts. Thank you, Vientikis, who says, just to round it out, I still don't care about using words like communism and socialism because they're both bullshit words that have no real applicable denotation, just subjective connotations. French Laundry, Natasha Hausdorff. That's that one that debated. Well, who did she debate on Piers Morgan? I forget who. Was that Dave Smith or somebody? I think it was somebody else. It was some debate. Okay, let's take a look at Right of Resistance. Thanks for the $10. In Mexico, CIA is using cartels to remove communities away from silver-rich regions in Guerrero, while at the same time making the indigenous people beg for American intervention. On videos, does not surprise me. Vientikis, Cancelaria Argentina is their Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Ah, okay, International Trade and Worship. Thank you, Vientikis. Appreciate that very much. Meteor Dreams. Hey, it's been a while, Meteor Dreams. Thanks for the chat. Hi, guys. Wonderful work. Hey, Keaton, there's a Spanish YouTuber that discusses geopolitics. He kind of looks like you. His name is Alan Barasco. Check him out. All right. Thank you, Meteor Dreams. Good to see you back. All righty. We will move right on along here.
Okay, so there once was a pretty typical woman-hating MAGA influencer named Ashley Sinclair. Here she is in 2020. Before the idiots start thinking I'm advocating for killing children and men not paying child support, I'm not. My point is that if a woman gets to kill a fetus because she doesn't feel like having a child, a man should be able to opt out of paying if he doesn't want the child. And then along came Elon, putting a bun in that oven. Elon Musk, according to the reporting, we covered this at the time, he offered $15 million plus $100,000 a month in support to keep quiet about their son. I don't really understand why he wanted to keep quiet. He seems to like to brag about how many baby mamas he's got running around, but for whatever reason, according to the reporting, he wanted to cover this one up. Now, for a while, this has just been kind of going through the courts. It's been getting more and more contentious. Elon has sued for custody. Yeah, fucking dad of the year, that guy. But he now later on seemed to have gone a little too far in January. He took away her blue check. He took away her monetization. Elon Musk's baby mama says his AI generated sexual images of her without consent. Then his platform punished her for complaining. And here she says, they took my check mark and canceled my Twitter premium. LMAO. Was it something I said? And here, ex-creator revenue sharing paused a little bit from Y Entertainment here. It probably was. She had gone public about Grok, the AI chatbot built into Musk's platform, generating sexualized images of her without consent. Some were based on photos from when she was 14. She told the bot to stop. It didn't. She threatened legal action. Then her account got stripped. When another user asked Grok why St. Clair had been penalized, the bot cited potential terms violations, including her public accusations against Grok for generating inappropriate images. She had reported abuse. The platform called that the problem. And here Ashley St. Clair says, asking Grok to stop making CSAM of you and 4-year-old girls is now a terms of service violation. According to her, this is what Grok is programmed to do. It will generate child porn, if you want to call it that, in an AI image, but it will generate, if you take a picture of a child and want it nude, according to her, Grok will do that. So it was doing very hyper realistic sexualized pictures of her based on her own photos. And according to her account, she asked him to stop. She put in a request to their customer service, which if you've ever dealt with ex-customer service, you know it's kind of an oxymoron. And finally she sued, and now they're suing her, kind of like, you remember the woman who died in a Disney theme park from an allergy eating at the restaurant, and they tried to get out of it by saying she had signed a Disney Plus account that didn't allow her to sue. They're trying to sue her on that basis, saying she's violating our ex terms of service by suing them. That's a great look when you're being asked not to generate any more kitty porn on your site.
Yeah.
So here she is, 60 minutes, her bitch about copyright. But here's a little bit about this in an interview she did recently.
Not only are they still training Grok, and Grok still retains the ability to undress women, but they're training Grok to do it better.
What do you mean?
Right now, they are currently training Grok to undress women better. That is the job of the people working at XAI.
How do you know that?
Because I was told by an employee.
What are the employees telling you?
They're uncomfortable. They were made to sign waivers saying that they may be exposed to traumatic images, to traumatic content, content that may be explicit content.
Okay, so now Ashley St. Clair is kind of their worst nightmare. She has worked for TPUSA, as we'll see a little bit of a clip of. She actually worked for Benny in the Closet. We were calling them that before everybody else. We were ahead of the curve on Benny in the Closet.
That was just intuition.
That was just intuition. That was just take a look at the guy. Jesus Christ. But there had been rumors, but now it's kind of exploded into the open. So she worked for his company, and now she is spilling all the tea about the horror that you would expect. And she's spilling the tea about how the whole MAGA influence grift works. She is giving it all away. All right, so here's a little bit of her breakdown of how being a MAGA influencer can be very lucrative, but how none of it is actually real or authentic.
With me while I tell you about how the pay-to-play MAGA influence campaigns work. For those who don't know, my name is Ashley St. Clair, and I was involved in MAGA politics and was a MAGA influencer for almost a decade. I know. Now, MAGA, and really MAGA, not so much just GOP messaging, is incredibly coordinated. And I was initiated into this very young, about 19 years old, when I was first brought on to Turning Point. That was when I was invited to my first Turning Point event and was really thrust into this MAGA influencer ecosystem. In 2015-2016, MAGA and their operators realized how important and consequential social media was for politics. This really started during the Obama years when they harnessed the internet and email campaign messaging, and then MAGA took it to the next level with things like Cambridge Analytica and coordinated messaging on sites like Twitter. Their main avenues for this influence are group chats, paid influence campaigns, and parties. Now, for the group chats, they operate with large influencers, particularly on Twitter. That is their primary mode of communication, is Twitter. And they will have these giant group chats that make influencers and individuals feel important because they are in group chats with members of the administration, people on the Trump team, in which they coordinate these messaging tactics. They also have coordinated calls with these campaigns and with these politicians, so you feel that you are important. What I really want to focus on, What I really want to focus on, though, is the paid campaigns, because this is able to fester through many loopholes within our own regulations and laws, because since what they're promoting is messaging or petitions or campaigns and not a service or a product, they do not have to disclose that they are paid for this on social media. So they have these Republican operatives, some of which were former White House, who build out these platforms that these right-wing influencers can log onto and see active campaigns and sign up for and get paid for promoting certain messaging, certain initiatives, certain petitions. And this pay is typically, per click. Sometimes it's a flat rate, but it is everything from, hey, tell your audience to call their members of Congress and vote a particular way on this bill, or, have your followers sign this petition, promote this propaganda, XYZ. And the structure is indistinguishable from ad campaigns that you would do for a traditional company. So if you take, Tarte, for example, or a cosmetic brand or what have you, typically when they get influencers, they will also have a company copy or things that they should say, a script. And so do these right-wing influencers. They are given a script, they are paid, and they post it. And the only difference is that they do not have to disclose that it's an ad, because of our current laws and regulations do not require them to do so, since it is not a good or a product.
All right, so that makes a lot of sense, because you see all these accounts where they're obviously getting paid, where they're obviously coordinated. And you say, well, how is that not a violation of the law? And she's explained that, no, it's not a violation of the law. You have to disclose if you're selling a product, but not an idea, not a bill. You don't have to disclose that. And elsewhere in that video, she talks about how you'll have these PACs pay these consulting firms, and that money is visible because they have to report that. But then when these consulting firms pay out to these influencers, that's a black hole. That doesn't have to be disclosed, so you don't see it. But she put out another video a week later, basically bringing the receipts. Now, we've done segments about how coordinated this messaging is, how absolutely impossible it is that everybody came up with exactly the same take on Somalians on the same day,
Right,
with almost exactly the same words, right? But here she really breaks it down with how after the shooting attempt at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, every one of these MAGA influencers' take was, we need a ballroom. How could that be organic? So here she is.
Oh, last week I told you guys that all of MAGA is paid and they coordinate their messaging in lockstep via group chats. And what do you know? All of these people came to the conclusion that after they saw what happened at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, their first thought was all independently, Trump needs his ballroom. The statistical likelihood of this happening in a vacuum, if we are to stipulate that these people are not coordinated, the statistical likelihood of this happening, that they all came to the same conclusion, not probable, okay? I think it's also important to note that one of the main group chats in which they coordinate this messaging is literally called Fight, Fight, Fight after the attempt on Trump's life in Butler. Okay, and this has the official Trump War Room, members of the administration, including James Blair, and all your favorite MAGA influencers. And I would log on and show you more of these messages, but I can't log on to Twitter because they're suing me for $75,000.
All right. So you might have seen, I'm sure our folks saw how Bill Maher's monologue, his deranged monologue about how awesome Israel is, and still trying to push the line that people who don't think so are woke or something. Just absolutely crashed and burned. It was the most cringe thing you've ever seen, but not amongst people who are getting a check. It was vivid. Bill Maher destroys the anti-American and anti-Israel crowd in a single minute. Now, this is going to sound like deja vu all over again. Sarah Hops. Bill Maher destroys the anti-American and anti-Israel crowd in a single minute.
Yeah.
Usually they try to change the words a little bit for some kind. Just got lazy, just copied and pasted whatever marching orders they got and put out exactly the same thing. And then you have, look, I want to popularize this. I need you folks to help me. The Chinese have an expression for trust fund Nepo babies that I love. Lucky boys.
Lucky boys.
Lucky boys. I really want to popularize that. Winston Marshall is a lucky boy. He's a lucky boy. His dad is a big right-wing media mogul there in England. He's a lucky boy. Superb. Superb, he quotes out over Bill Maher's completely cringe failed monologue there. All right. So now we pointed this out a couple times. We'll just quickly to sum up. Now, the only thing I can figure, because Nick Sorter is absolutely one of these people. He is absolutely one of these people who takes this money and puts out the same talking points as everybody else. I guess he was sincerely Maha. That's the only reason I can think that he outed his fellow grifters over the fact that they took money to go against not allowing SNAP recipients to buy soda. For whatever reason, he outed everybody who agreed to take money and speak out against taking soda away from SNAP recipients. That's the only reason I see, because he's absolutely one of the people who does this. No way that he comes up with exactly the same. You can look at Gunther Eagleman, Nick Sorter, Eric Doherty on any given day. They'll pretty much say the same shit in almost the same words. And as St. Clair points out, that doesn't happen by accident. Gen X girl pointed out there's another telltale sign about Insurrection Barbie, who's a criminal. She's a you want to talk about a grifter? You know, she's been convicted of embezzlement, fraud, theft. But she points this out. Even more interesting is the volume of posts, which average one post every 3 minutes since 8/18/2022. Now, this is I did a whole segment showing this with Gunther Eagleman. Gunther Eagleman posts like no more than 15. You can look at Gunther Eagleman's account at 3 o'clock in the morning, and there will be a post having been dropped within 15 minutes. That's a lot of these accounts, to really monetize it, to really turn it into a business. It's fronted by a person and it's run by a team. There's a bunch of people posing as this person to keep the content up and to keep the money coming in. So, she's kind of, look, she got into this world when she was 19. Obviously, she got a taste of what it's about.
That's one way of putting it.
Got a taste of what these people are really like. But according to her accounts now, I mean, she always kind of saw it was messed up. So she's apologizing now for offending the trans community and damage that she's done. But this is very interesting. She worked for Benny Johnson's company. And I get it's him and a partner, Jason Cole. I think from what she said in this video, like they're friends from the same town or something. And check out this video. It's very interesting. She talks about how they gave her drugs to keep her up all night. Jason Cole is basically a drunk who was cheating on his wife with multiple staff members, and would basically embezzle funds to make payroll that they couldn't make, and people would go on strike because they're not getting paid. All kinds of crazy stuff. But in this portion of the video, she talks about, what the consequences can be for coming out and how fucked up these people are. She talks about how a lot of these people are cheating on their spouses with women, with men. They're degenerate drug users, and, they present themselves obviously in a completely different way.
What is clear through Arsenal and all of these other consulting firms that I
Arsenal is Johnson's company.
Worked with throughout my time in MAGA politics is that not only is nothing organic, but in private, these people who are your figureheads, their messaging is so aligned with what is going to get them the most clicks and monetization, and they say this quite explicitly. There was also a lot of blacklisting going on, and very high up figures within the MAGA coalition and from some companies that you would know that would request that staffers of ours be fired for not being Trump loyalists, even just criticizing Trump, would cause Jason to say, well, I'm not gonna pay their bills. I'm not gonna put food on their table. So this whole time that I'm at this company, I am scared to step out of line in messaging because I will lose the roof over my head. So while they're simultaneously making money, an exorbitant amount of money off of, crying about cancel culture on social media, they're also taking away the livelihoods of people who are not ideological foot soldiers for the MAGA party of family values, Trumpism, and the people canceling them are the most degenerate white trash scum I've ever met in my life. There is also an exorbitant amount of pressure to keep these things quiet too, because around the time that I leave, Arsenal starts getting media attention for this awful behavior, their shady business operations, and I am cornered at the Mar-a-Lago pool by Andrew Colvett from Turning Point saying, you better not be leaking to the media about Arsenal, yada yada who.
Okay, so apparently, after spilling the beans on Benny, which she says she's got more receipts coming, she, I guess, got threatened that they were going to out her personal behavior. So this was her response.
I came out about Benjamin Grinder Johnson. People had been threatening to expose me, so I'm just going to do it myself. In case you didn't know, I've had sex with men outside of marriage. And in college, I used to, not only would I smoke weed, but I would mix it with, they call it a spliff actually, and but you see, Benny, it's really easy for anyone to admit that they have sex with men outside of marriage. We all like to get our whistle wet, okay? I'm less interested in that, though. I think everyone will be very interested in your financials and the story of how Benny Johnson came to be in the first place. TTFN.
Yeah.
Influencers
hell
online
hath
who
no
are getting
fury,
together to...
as they say. So she went on with Mehdi Hassan, kind of making the rounds right now, and had a few things to say about her former fellow peers, including Chaya Raichek.
Kind of push these campaigns, often quite hate-filled, bigoted campaigns. How dangerous are they? Because on the one hand, you want to laugh and mock them because they're weirdos and freaks. On the other hand, real-world violence comes out of some of these posts and statements online. Do you believe they're dangerous, these groups that you were part of, in terms of real-world political violence?
Yes, and one thing I will say is that most of these influencers, including myself, while we contributed to harm, we were used, and they are being used as pawns for much more powerful people. And to hyperfixate on someone like Libs of TikTok or a Chaya Raichek, who is a cerebral speed bump. She's nothing more than a cognitive traffic cone. There's not much going on up there. Rather than putting the ire on the elected representatives and the elected officials and the people of the upper classes who are promoting this, I think is a mistake. I think there needs to be much more ire for the people in positions of power who are promoting these individuals.
Yeah, so there you go. There you go. I'm not aware of any other insider at that level who's in a position to reveal all this who has done so. I can't think of another case of this. This is what we've been saying for a while, just from the obvious evidence, like what you pointed out about the ballroom. You'll see that on any talking point on any day. The idea that that entire space is in any way organic, it's absurd. As she says, it's statistically impossible for all these people to have the same exact talking points at the same exact time. Now, is it different from the corporate media? Not really. The corporate media, it's like that too. Very often the way they'll get their talking points is one of the establishment rags planted its flag with some op-ed, which is a way of signaling what you're supposed to say about this. And then they all have the same exact take about it. When all this social media independent space started, it was independent. Didn't stay that way for very long. Of course, the money people looked at what the kids are looking at and bought everybody in that space. And with Elon buying X, yeah, man, Twitter never made money. It was never profitable. It's not profitable now. But what he has a value beyond the dollars and cents. He uses the algorithm to boost these talentless hacks and the messaging that they in turn are paid to put out in order to control the parameters of the conversation. It's the new corporate media. The same way the corporate media defined the parameters of the conversation moved to social media. Now a different group of creeps and overlords are defining the parameters of the conversation. This is why I was talking about this earlier. We dropped that Mamdani video. I did a video about the P to tear, and you got people going apoplectic about that video, talking about everything but. And it's very clear they were told what to be angry about with that. Not to harp on that, but it's an example. Like, it's none of it is organic. And if you can define the conversation according to completely irrelevant metrics, you can just keep running things without interference from the populace, right? They can vote all they want. The way they're voting is based on smoke and mirrors. It's based on nonsense. It's based on fake controversies. It's based on fake issues. The whole civic discourse in America is just built on nonsense and irrelevance, and it's designed to be that way. And yes, the corporate media had a certain way of going about that, and the social media aesthetic of it is a little different. A few more F-bombs, a little more defined by people who spent most of their day jacking off in the basement and then typing shit in all caps with their sticky little fingers. The aesthetic is a little grubbier, but it's controlled the same way. This is what we're talking about, and anything outside of it is going to get de-emphasized in the algorithm. That's how they maintain that control today. And she's exposing one part of that ecosystem very effectively.
Yeah, I mean, the saying goes, the joke goes, politics is show business for ugly people. And it really is. It really is, in the sense that, so much of who you see and what you see is fake. It's fake. People at a certain echelon of society conduct themselves certain ways. It's a decadent culture. They could brand themselves family values people all they want. They don't live like that. It really is showbiz for ugly people. It really is as decadent and as hedonistic as Hollywood or
Right.
as the music industry, right? It's sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Well, it's sex, drugs, and movies, sex, drugs, and politics. You know, you fill in the blank. When people achieve certain milestones and ascend to certain echelons of the society, they conduct themselves in certain ways, and it's not surprising at all. I mean, look who she shacked up with there. You know, I mean,
Yep.
case in
Yep.
point. Case
Yep.
in point. You know,
Yep.
and because of the sort of, you know, it's another cliche, but it's a cliche for a reason. The old Marshall McLuhan medium is the message ethos there. You know, this here is, there's a second person quality to it because you're kind of interacting with the audience. There's a live chat. You're getting moment to moment feedback.
Right.
And this is why people are called influencers, because you're speaking in a sense directly to the audience in a way that like a TV newscaster is not, right? The audience is part of the show in that way.
Right,
It's very
right.
reactive, especially when you're a streamer or something like that. And so that is very, very powerful. That's a very powerful dynamic. A lot of advertisers see that as a very lucrative dynamic. You know, that's why if you put up good live stream numbers, you don't even have to be a huge channel. You'll get approached by
Right.
advertisers.
Yep.
Because, you know, there's a certain intimacy to this space that is conducive to effective branding. And that's what these people are. They're brands. That's why they're called influencers, because they're brand ambassadors. That's another
Right.
phrase that means influencer, but it's the same thing. And that's exactly what they are.
Right.
Okay. All right. Well, folks, we have a game break here. I must inform the audience that NBC News has declared a winner in Kentucky's 4th district, and it is gay mafia consigliere Ed Gallrein. Ed Gallrein apparently has defeated Thomas Massie in the 4th district of Kentucky. Massie closed the gap a little bit as same-day votes started coming in, because, of course, the first batch of votes are the early votes. Massie was expected to gain ground on same-day votes, but he did not gain enough, at least not enough to affect NBC News' judgment. So Thomas Massie has been voted out, at least of the Republican Party. We'll see if he stays in and runs independent. I doubt he will. I think Gallrein would have, because Gallrein still would have had a lot of money behind him. But, well, there you have it, folks. I told you, the people of Kentucky, ouch. That is a major L for Kentucky's 4th district. Daddy says Gallrein, the Chuds vote Gallrein. So now you're a cult, basically. So now MAGA is a cult. You can't say they're not a cult.
Of course it is.
Massie is a popular congressperson. It's not an unpopular congressperson. He wins unanimously year after year. But no, Donald Trump recruits this challenger based on Massie's
trans challenger.
Yeah, a challenger controlled by the trans mafia, according to one of Thomas Massie's PACs. And he wins. Thomas Massie stands on principle for the policies that Trump ran on. That's the thing. It's not like Massie went rogue. Trump went rogue. Massie's the one who stood on principle for the elements of the MAGA agenda that Trump betrayed. Most importantly, of course, no new wars. Second most importantly, of course, Epstein files transparency. You may say those two issues are connected. That's, of course, a crazy theory, but it's a theory many subscribe to. And for that, apparently 55% of Kentucky voters, all of whom voted for Thomas Massie in 2024, decide, you know what, daddy wants, daddy gets. And as I mentioned earlier, I'll say it now because we're going to clip this. I do think this is a Pyrrhic victory in a sense for Donald Trump and for the Republican Party. Obviously, he avoids the embarrassment of a Gallrein defeat, although it's not a landslide. It's not an 80-20. It's 54-46. But still, he avoids the embarrassment of a Gallrein defeat. But I think there are a lot of people right now, not just in Massie's district, not just these 46% of voters who voted for Massie, but I can guarantee you, based on everything I've been reading on social media this past week or so, that a Massie defeat is going to cause an exodus out of the Republican Party, just as the Bernie defeat caused an exodus out of the Democratic Party. Like, you're going to bleed members when you prove to them how rigged it is, how AIPAC can just pour in $15 million into the race and buy the race. At this point, your most principled people are going to say, what's the point of participating in this party anymore? There is none. They're out. That's what we did. That's why we're not Democrats anymore. I think the same thing is going to happen here. And so it is a Pyrrhic victory in that sense, in the sense that I really think they have lost a lot of would-be Republican voters for at least 2 or 3 cycles at this point, because they pulled this, and they pulled it successfully because money talks and bullshit walks.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like, you know, part of, even we were saying it when Trump won their primary, hey, you know, the Republican Party let their voters decide, right? That was the takeaway of a lot of disaffected Sanders voters, that they had an insurgent, and in the end, they talked about rigging it. If you remember, there was talk in the Republican Party about how they could rig the delegates, and they talked about how they could stop it. But they didn't do that in the end. The Democrats did.
Right.
So there was this sense that, A, the Republican Party listens to its voters, and B, its voters make up their own minds, right? Because even Fox was against Trump originally.
Right.
Right. The establishment very clearly signaled, you don't vote for this guy. Now you can't say that anymore, man. That's the irony. Like, yeah, Trump was an insurgent, but now he turned the party into a cult. Like, the people who are left in the party have absolutely no independence. This proves it. You couldn't have a candidate who lives up to the supposed ideals of the modern Republican more than Thomas Massie.
Exactly.
And if all it takes is for this fucking Epstein Files rapist to say vote for the other guy, and you people who say you have family values don't care about your pedo president refusing to release these files, and you'll vote the way he tells you to. What are you even talking about politically? Like, what do you even stand for? Like, what do you values? Values. Your president will not release the Epstein files.
That's why this happened. That's why this happened. He picked a fight with. So the people who are voting for Ed Gallrein, you're voting for Ed Gallrein because Thomas Massie pushed for the release of the Epstein files. You're voting for Ed Gallrein because Thomas Massie opposed the Iran war. That's why on all the hardcore conservative stuff, Massie and Trump are pretty much hand in hand. They all want less taxes, less regulation. They're against the transgender for everybody, even though, ironically, this guy was backed by some of those groups, according to Massie's PAC. Massie's strong Second Amendment, strong civil liberties. I mean, he's a very conservative guy. He was very popular for that reason in a very conservative district. And so not only did you just prove your mindlessness and your subservience to daddy, but you didn't even consider, or perhaps considered but didn't care, that the reason Donald Trump picked this fight with Thomas Massie is because Thomas Massie wanted to release the Epstein files. Like, that's what you voted against tonight. You voted against the guy who stood up and tried to get the Epstein files out, and did to a certain extent. We got to give him credit. He made some things happen before he was voted out. But, you know, Massie almost certainly leaving Congress now. I doubt he'll run as an independent, and if he does, he probably will lose. But, you know, Massie, to his credit, did what AOC said she was willing to do, which is stick your neck out for a few important issues and live with the consequences, even if those consequences mean you're voted out. She came in and said you have to go in not being afraid to be a one-term congressperson.
No.
Right.
And then she got afraid.
Then she got afraid and she decided, you know what? Fuck that. I don't want to be a one-term congressperson. I'm going to play ball. You know, Massie lasted a little more than one term, but eventually Massie did what AOC
she didn't want a real job.
Right. Exactly. And so I guess Thomas Massie has to go back to selling cows for cash at this point. Now he's going to go back to his underground cow business. But really, really pathetic. I mean,
1-800 cash for cows.
Cash for cows. Just a really, really pathetic result. Surprising. I mean, I didn't think this was going to happen at the beginning of the year. I thought it was a near certainty that Massie would win, especially when we covered the launch of Ed Gallrein's campaign. I mean, he's such a pathetic candidate, too. He's so awkward and doofy, no charisma, no leadership abilities whatsoever. No, this was two things. This was money, and this was daddy. That's it. The cult leader said vote this way, and you got a lot of people to spend a lot of money brainwashing people into voting this way. And this is what I said, man. Like, I believe in self-governance. The populist in me really believes in that as a core value, but this is what I mean when I say we're not up to it. Like, we're not up to it. Like, I'm sorry, this is on the voters at the end of the day. It's on the voters at the end of the day. You voted for Thomas Massie unanimously in the last election. He did nothing to betray your confidence whatsoever. He did
quite the opposite. Unlike your president.
Yeah, he did what Trump campaigned on doing. He stood on the principles that Donald Trump ran on. And 55% of you fucking morons vote for this fucking weirdo with the fucking Hitler hairdo because Donald Trump says, I'm sorry, that's on you. That's on you. You have to be better. Like, you have to hold people to certain standards. Like, with the power of self-governance comes a certain accountability at a certain point. There was absolutely no reason for this result. Yes, the system's corrupt. There's a lot of money in it. But at the end of the day, you vote for Ed Gallrein, you're in a fucking cult. And the fact of the matter is, most of the Republican Party is now a cult.
People of Kentucky, we don't like pedophiles around here. Except we do.
Except when we do. Should sell bum. That should be the state slogan of Kentucky now. We don't like pedophiles except when we do.
Except when we do. Wow, man.
Should be a bumper sticker now for the state. I guess should be on the Kentucky state flag. Wow, what a fucking L. What an L for Kentucky's 4th district. How pathetic. How utterly fucking pathetic is that?
Well, look, this is why some people got mad when I think it was the first show back. I was talking about how, China makes a good case against participatory democracy. Well, this is why I was saying that right here. Because look, this is their logic to doing it that way. The people are so easily manipulated. What's the point? What's the point? They're just going to be misled into voting against their own interests anyway. Like, you're better off having a cadre of a democracy among people who have the same ideological training and objectives, and you can have debates and votes amongst yourselves. But to open it up to everybody, before you know it, they're going to be voting for pedophiles. Like, why even do it like that? I'm sorry, man. Like, this is a good example of why communist countries tend to be run like that, because you'll wind up with capitalist infiltrators who will undermine the process, so you don't really have an open, fair vote among an informed public. It just doesn't happen. Miriam Adelson bought this election.
It doesn't happen. No, it doesn't happen. And this, I mean, like I said, not to belabor the point, but as an ideal, as an aspiration, right? I like to think that the reason I talk into a microphone for a living is because it matters that you say things that people can then absorb and perhaps persuade people. Like, I think discourse and debate and persuasion are meaningful. And so in that sense, like, yeah, the challenge is to prepare the public to govern themselves. But that is a heavy fucking lift, man. That is a heavy fucking lift, as gets proven over and over again. None more so in recent memory than this, though, man. You took a guy who gets voted in unanimously every year, and you unseated him for standing on the principles that you ran on 2 years ago.
With Miriam Adelson's money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Miriam Adelson's money, man. Like, which everybody knew.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck,
What the fuck, man? Jesus Christ. God.
See, that's where, it's a conundrum. Like, I feel like America does so much harm to people around the world. We have an obligation to try to fight from inside because we're already here and we're Americans. But how do you fight? How do you fight when your population is this broken? When the people you're trying to convince or persuade or educate are this bone deep ignorant? How do you work with that, man? Like even Massie's politics are not ours, except being anti PDF file. I mean, other than that,
and anti-war, yeah,
anti-war,
and pro free
like,
speech. Like
look,
he's good on civil liberties.
We respect him because he's
Yeah.
a man of principle, but his basic economics, I mean, for him, he didn't want any of the COVID bills, financial assistance. It's not our politics, but it's not like a lot of these guys just want to punish the public on behalf of the people who pay for their campaigns. I never felt with Massie that's what it was at all.
No,
like this is what the guy believes. Okay, man, you can have an honest disagreement and respect him as a man of principle and work with him on what you agree with him about, which are some of the weightiest issues of our day. But if that guy who represented kind of the ideal of modern conservatism could be defeated in the reddest of states, I mean, what do you got? What do you got? I mean, you got empty neoliberalism on one side and just a bunch of coked up pedophiles on the other. Like, wow, man.
Yeah, no, it's real. I mean, look, I had a bad feeling when I saw that ad. We played that ridiculous ad from the pro Massie pack. Gallrein values are freak values. Like when that's your closing argument in these times, in such severe times, you're closing with that you funded by the gay mafia. That's like, all right, at this point, you must be running with that as your closing message because you don't trust the voters to be smart enough to think about the Iran war. Right. And, so that was a bad sign and turned out it was an omen. It was a sign of things to come.
Yep.
So there you go. All right. I am the owl. All right. Well, this chat's a little obsolete now. If Thomas Massie wins, my AI-powered Tulsi Gabbard doppelganger robot is threatening to withhold sex from me until November. Please, God, don't make me go back to the Laura Loomer chat box. Good one. SS Scooby, appreciate the Bolivia segment. A lot of it is new to me. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yes, thanks.
That was well done.
Thanks for the kind words. Well, yeah, I wanted to give a little backstory because Bolivia was like in the news years back, but it hadn't been in the news for a while. So, yes, thank you for that. Vienticus, by the way, I'm guessing you haven't checked the P.O. box yet. LOL. No, I have not. I go once a week. So I will go sometime this week. Thank you, Vienticus. I've been thinking about ancient Rome a lot recently, but that's because I've been watching Asterisk and Obelix movies. If you know, you know. Well, I don't know. I'm sure Russ knows. Todo es un tasta. Here, you read that one.
I mean, todo es una estafa, todo es una mentira, todo es hipocresía, así que no cumplo.
Is that everything's hypocrisy, so I don't comply? Is that what that is? Did he translate Vienticus this time?
Yes.
Yes. I see. I got piece that together. Tusker, thanks for the $20, Tusker. People talk all the time about how authoritarian places like China and Russia are. The U.S. government is the most authoritarian regime in the world simply because we won't allow other nations to govern themselves. Yes, well said.
Yep.
Well said. Appreciate that. But hey, we allow the people to vote for the gay mafia. You can vote for Ed Gallrein.
Yep.
You can vote for those freak values.
See, that's the thing. In China, they'd shoot that guy before you get to vote for him. So how free are you?
No freak values.
Get against the wall. I stuck a piece of gum there. Find it for.
This segment on Bolivia has to be one of the most ignorant takes you two have had. Why don't you try picking up a history book and educate yourself on the Don Road Doctrine? We can do what we want. Thank you, Yo Shush. Appreciate that. Kenman, Russ, you mentioned that you need to be very good on the bike to go to the Battery in NYC. How good do you have to be?
I mean, you should be very comfortable on a bike if you're going to do that. You should be very comfortable. You should be very aware of your peripheral surroundings. You need to bike defensively because of the tourists. I usually try to go on a weekday for that reason, because you do have a lot of tourists, man. They'll just kind of be looking, they'll just swerve right into your lane. And then if you're going to go off the bike path, which I usually take the bike path down and then I come back through the streets. If you're going to bike through Midtown, yeah. When I was married, me and Leah, we went to Montauk and we rode bikes together. And then, because I cycled all the time, you're married. She wants to share that time with you. I told her, listen, man, I want you to stick around, man. I saw you bike at Montauk. You cannot bike in New York City. She was so mad at me. Like, I literally would not let her, because she would have gotten killed.
Yeah, she would have gotten hit. Yeah. Well, there's that place you ride on near the river, right? Is that what you do, or do you ride on the streets?
Both. I usually take, the Harlem bike path is beautiful on the west side. The east side's very weird. The east side's all messed up, but the west side's nice. I take the west side down to the Battery, and then I will ride up through Little Italy. Usually I'll take the ride up through Little Italy. This week, as I've been away for a while, I did the extended tour. I went to Washington Square Park, listened to the outdoor jazz bands for a while. Usually have jazz bands playing there in the daytime. And then if I do that, I take 6th Avenue back, and then I go through Central Park for the tail end of the ride. Yeah.
Eric Rousseau, sounds like China needs trans sports. We must invade. Rust. Kate 7478 says, are you going to talk live with anyone on the ground with Massie? They have 30 creators on the ground: James Lee, Tiffany Chianche, and Ryan Mata, to name a few. Any of them you can call to be on live with a report. Well, I imagine they're pretty depressed at this point. So yeah. I don't have any of their phone numbers. But yeah, it looks like all is not well at headquarters. Are they live streaming from there? Are they doing like a big stream, or are they each individually streaming? Mod, please. Oh, well, you got disturbances in the chat, or do you want to be a mod, Emoji? I can make you a mod if you want to be. La Senora Chamanique. How come you guys didn't cover Chud the Builder? Vienticus Prime. Dukes of Hazzard setting was Georgia. Okay, it was in Georgia? Yeah, see, I didn't know. I didn't know if there was a specific state for that. Profanosaurus Rex, thanks for the $10. I shouldn't have donated all my cow money to Massie. It's giving me Bernie shell shock feeling again. Oh, boy. Well, if you donated $500, you should insist he send you a cow now. Say, hey, I bought it.
Fuck yeah.
Hazard and Harlan counties in Kentucky are the hillbilly counties. How are they voting? Well, where are we at now? How are we looking now in the race here? We got, still 55-45 with how many in? What's the 76% in. It's Gallrein by 9. So yep, that's over. That is over and done with. Good job, Kentucky. Great job, real bang up job on that.
Okay, for anyone who wanted to know, Dukes of Hazzard was set in Georgia.
Yeah, that's what I said.
You knew that?
No, he just said that in the chat.
Oh, okay.
The super chat just said that. Yeah, that was Vienticus just said that. Let's see what else we got here. Something I find interesting is that Ashley St Clair's monitor is showing a screensaver that was no later than Windows XP. Yeah, that was one of those old school screensavers. I noticed that. Dark Matter Zombie, look at that. Let's have $100. Let's have a prayer bell for Landrew. Thank you, Landrew. Appreciate that. Thank you, Keaton and Russ, for bringing us all together in these times of chaos. We are all Palestinian now. Free Palestine, Lebanon, and the heroes of Iran. Community and solidarity. Thank you, Landrew. Appreciate that very much. We got Landrew's drop.
Yeah, I'm finding it. There we go.
I am Landrew. Landrew is dead.
GDNPB says, oh no, do we have to pretend the elections aren't rigged again? I'm so tired of that.
John, I mean, some people are saying that, like, how do you know it's not rigged? Maybe it is. I don't know.
I don't know, man. Like I said, Kentucky week was always a rough week at Radio City. The lessons Dems might take from this: stay the course. Everyone thinks it's rigged, says Nocturnal Human. If it's not, fuck you, Kentucky. You deserve to rot like you are. Yeah, man. I believe it. I believe it. I don't necessarily think it's rigged. I think people are that fucking stupid. The Anticus Prime, maybe from now on we should just refer to all politicians as Epstein from whatever states, whatever districts. Yeah, exactly. The Epstein district. 3 Ember, Massie as an independent would flip the district. Sometimes Twitter is real life and sometimes it's not. I think that is an impression you can get from being online a lot, but and look, sometimes there's closer to a 1-to-1 match, the online discourse versus real life. That was certainly true in 2024 to a surprising extent, I thought. I don't know if that's the case at this point. Massie's very, very popular on Twitter, but apparently not popular enough in the 4th district. Now, could he pull in independents? Yeah, it's going to be that's going to be a huge climb in terms of resources. Gallrein could have done it because Gallrein has the Israel people, they could just pour money into his campaign and into his PACs. At this point, Massie would really have to bootstrap that in order to make that happen. And like I said, I think a lot of people are just going to be very, very depressed by this outcome. Understandably so. Kentucky, we keep a fresh supply of KY for your kids. Thank you. We had to get front. There we go. Skyman. Wait, Massie lost? Well, I think it's time to call it. Whatever kind of America people think they're living in is about to be over. I give this country another 5 months. Thank you, Skyman. Good to see you, Skyman. Haven't seen you in a little while. Thanks for being here tonight. All right, everybody. We will move right on along. Let's go on to our next segment right here. Okay, so horrible story out of San Diego. Of course, 3 victims, 2 gunmen dead in Islamic Center shooting. Here is a local NBC report on this horrible event.
The Islamic community here in Southern California. Devastation for the Islamic community here in Southern California. Police say 2 teenagers opened fire at a San Diego mosque, killing 3 people. And you can see the massive police response to this. This morning, we're learning more about the shooting as the investigation continues. NBC4's Brittany Hope is live with details as police increase patrols at houses of worship here locally. Brittany?
Hey, Adrian, and that came from the direction of Mayor Karen Bass, who said she stands with the Muslim community and condemns this attack. She said she's now talking with Muslim leaders here in LA to offer her help after images like this. Children holding hands, running out of their school yesterday, guarded by law enforcement in heavy military gear. One young student said he was in class when he heard gunshots and that the FBI came to rescue him and his classmates. Here's what we know about this shooting at the Islamic Center of San Diego. Police say 3 men were found dead in front of the mosque. A security guard is one of them and is now being hailed a hero for saving lives. The imam of the Islamic Center said all of its teachers, students, and other school staff are safe. The gunmen were identified by 2 senior law enforcement officials and a federal law enforcement officer as a 17-year-old and an 18-year-old from the San Diego area. The 2 teens took their own lives.
It's being investigated as a hate crime at this point. There was definitely hate rhetoric that was involved. There was no specific threat, especially no specific threat to the Islamic Center. It was just general hate kind of speech that I think covered a wide gamut.
And police say hours before the shooting, the mother of one of the shooters called authorities saying her son was suicidal and had run away with another person, both dressed in camo. She also told police her firearms and car were both missing. Adrian?
So obviously just an absolutely gut-wrenching thing. What we know about the San Diego shooting, victim, suspects, possible motive, and more. 2 senior law enforcement officials briefed on the investigation, and federal law enforcement official identified the suspect as Kane Clark, 17, and Caleb Vasquez, 18. Clark attended high school virtually and was set to graduate later this month, according to a school district official. The mother of one of the suspects called police Monday morning and said her son, her firearms, and her car were missing, while said. She described the teen as suicidal and said he was most likely with a friend, while said. Both were dressed in camo, he recalled her saying. Officers were talking with the woman and trying to piece together where her son might be when they learned what was happening at the Islamic Center while set. So it looks like they were just too many steps behind, but they were on the trail when this happened. So here is the Islamic Center of San Diego director, Taha Hassaneh, after the shooting incident at the mosque. So here's the main imam here.
My name is Taha Hassan. I'm the Imam and Director of the Islamic Center of San Diego. I know it's time of sorrow, time of sadness. We have never experienced a tragedy like this before. And at this moment, all what I can say is sending our prayers and standing in solidarity with all the families in our community here. And also the other mosques and all the places of worship in our beautiful city should always be protected. It is extremely outrageous to target a place of worship. Our Islamic Center is a place of worship. People come to the Islamic Center to pray, to celebrate, to learn. Not only Muslims, but we have people from all walks of life. Just this morning, earlier, a group of people, non-Muslims, coming just to learn about our faith and our cultures. So this is something that we have never expected. And I would like also to thank all the people who contacted us from all over the country and even from overseas to give condolences and to ask about, is there anything they can do to help? And I would like also to thank our local authorities, our San Diego Police Department, the FBI, the San Diego Police Department, FBI, and all the Sheriff Department, our mayor, for showing up and standing in solidarity with us. So this is what I have to say. Thank you so much.
So one of the victims was a security guard, father of 8 killed in San Diego mosque shooting, hailed as a hero. The bravery of a security guard who was shot dead along with 2 other worshipers at a San Diego mosque on Monday prevented the attack from being much worse, say police. The guard was Amin Abdullah, a father of 8. A spokeswoman for the Council on American Islamic Relations San Diego, Tazeen Nizam, told the BBC. It's fair to say his actions were heroic, San Diego Police Chief Scott Weil told the news conference. Undoubtedly, he saved lives today. Abdullah and 2 others, whom CARE SD named as Mansour Kazia and Nader Awad, were killed by 2 yet-to-be-identified teenage attackers who then took their own lives. Of course, they had since been identified since the publication of this article. But here is Imam Hassaneh again being asked about this security guard. This is pretty tough to watch.
The security guard, we're starting to hear more and more about him, father of 8 children, someone who was very loved.
Sorry.
And you had just seen him.
Brother Amin is an amazing man. He can't stop smiling to everyone. Everyone loves him, especially the kids of the school. And he sacrificed his life to protect the kids, basically. He was the first one to counter them. He was the first one to call on his walkie-talkie to all the teachers. There's active shooter, lock the doors. This is how he could save the kids inside their classrooms. Otherwise, I don't know what would happen. So we are mourning him. I mean, even the 2 other brothers, one of them is, we consider him as our grandfather. He was at the Islamic Center since 1986 when they broke the ground to build the Islamic Center. He has been there for the last 40 years. He is the cook. He is the caretaker. Whenever I need anything, for the last 22 years I've been at the Islamic Center as the Imam and the director, I couldn't do anything without him. He's gone.
Just horribly sad. You see this talking about how this guy pretty much, gave his life to this place. Here's Linda Sarsour. Two teenage gunmen fatally shot 3 people at the Islamic Center of San Diego, the largest mosque in the city, before killing themselves. Activist Linda Sarsour knew one of the victims and says the shooting reflects rising bigotry against Muslim Americans.
Center of San Diego, and I immediately texted Imam Taha Hussein, who's an old friend of mine, and I said, "Are you okay?" And he immediately called me back and said that we are in a lockdown right now. There's been an active shooting. At that moment, he had not known about all the fatalities, but they did know about Brother Amin Abdullah, who was the armed security guard of the mosque and a father of 8 and a wonderful, incredible human being that I also had the honor and privilege of meeting myself. There are also 2 other adult males that were also killed in the shooting. One of them is Brother Mansour, also known as Abul Izz. He is an elder, a caretaker of the mosque, also was running the Islamic bookstore at the mosque, and just a beloved kind of uncle in the community. Another one is Brother Nadid. Brother Nadid is a neighbor of the mosque, a congregant, someone who is heavily involved in the mosque itself. It's just a very devastating experience. There is also about 200 kids in a pre-K to 3rd grade Islamic school that is a part of the Islamic Center of San Diego who are also on lockdown, hiding under, hiding under desks and closets. And if it wasn't for Brother Amin Abdullah and these brothers that came out to put their bodies on the line, we could have had many more fatalities, and many of them could have been small children in this country. So even though the children are safe, thank God, they are forever going to live with this trauma of knowing that their mosque was attacked because they were Muslims. We can't deny, Amy, that there's been increased political rhetoric against Muslims in this country, and the ways in which Muslims are treated. Even after this horrific shooting, right-wing MAGA accounts, some of them verified, some of them high-profile, have begun conspiracy theories or have actually blamed the mosque itself for their own shooting that happened there. It is absolutely horrific to see the ways in which elected officials, anywhere from Randy Fine to the members of Congress who have started this, what they call the Sharia-free caucus, people are not held accountable for their anti-Muslim hate. Anti-Muslim hate is one of the few types of bigotry in this country that is acceptable. You don't lose your job. There's no consequences for it.
Yeah, so much so the Washington Post actually did a little piece on this after this shooting at the mosque. San Diego mosque attack follows surge in public anti-Islam rhetoric. Religious leaders from across the country are warning that a deadly shooting at a San Diego Islamic center, the latest in a string of attacks against houses of worship, reflects the escalating rhetoric against Muslims and other religious groups. Multiple Republican members of Congress, along with prominent social influencers this year, have made Islamophobic public statements. And then they cite a few examples. Sitting Congress member Representative Andy Ogles, Muslims don't belong in American society. Pluralism is a lie. I mean, Muslims don't belong in American society. Not critiquing the tenets of a religion, saying Muslims, adherents to that religion, are not welcome in this country. Randy Fine, of course, I mean, they just picked one. You have a virtually infinite supply to choose from here. If they force us to choose, the choice between dogs and Muslims is not a difficult one. Then you have Tommy Tuberville on radical Islam. The enemy is now inside the gates. Hateful speech from the halls of Congress does not stay in Washington, D.C. It travels. Yesterday, it arrived at a school full of children, the group of local and national leaders said in a statement. None of the 3 lawmakers immediately responded to a request for comment on Tuesday. So they picked out those tweets and they reached out. And if you look at Randy Fine's feed, no surprise, no mention of this at all. Even guys like Lindsey Graham made a point to say this is terrible, blah, blah, blah. But apparently those listed in that article have been silent, at least Randy Fine. All 3 silent when asked for comment by the Washington Post. That's funny. I just happened to see in the chat, people asked, well, what was Fox News' take on this? Well, Fox News decided to bring on, that's right, a rabbi to ask about this. And that irony was not lost on this account, Smile to Jana, who posted this video.
Do They got a rabbi. Yes, this was after a mosque was shot up. I mean, it's bad enough you're not bringing on Muslim representation, but let's see what Mr. Rabbi said.
My question is on these two kids. How did these kids, like a 17-year-old kid, what was going on? I will put money on it that there's some mental illness going on over there. I don't really think that these two kids, just regular American kids, are going to say, hey, let's go shoot up a mosque.
Yeah. He is whitewashing his crimes. I'd put my money on it. Imagine if a synagogue got attacked and an imam went, I'd bet £20 that he was unwell. Back to the weather.
Yeah. Yeah. Russ, did you catch that chant that was pinned at the bottom?
Yeah.
You talk.
Yeah, because freaking I had to block a psychopath and I accidentally pinned something else. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, thanks, Tusker, for the heads up on that. But yeah, they bring in a rabbi to say, well, yeah, this was probably mental illness. Now, this same rabbi was on a panel after the Bondi Beach shooting, which, speaking, Russ mentioned his wife earlier. Russ was actually on the beach that day. Thank God she was not harmed. But here is this panel in response to that. You could see taking a slightly different tone here.
In Israeli Special Ops veteran Aaron Cohen, along with the Chabad of Bel Air, Rabbi Chaim Mentz, and founder of LA Mom Magazine, Shirin Yadigar. Thank you all for coming on. Shirin, to you, I don't know if you heard it earlier, but Common Sense was talking about globalizing the Intifada, and I think we're seeing it. What do you think?
Absolutely. This is what happens when you let hate speech go viral like a cancer. We saw it on college campuses. We've seen it in Australia for the past 2 years. They say kill the Jews, gas the Jews. Hitler didn't finish his job, and it's failed leadership. We've seen that no one's holding them accountable. What we need to do is make sure that we don't allow hate speech turn into actions. This is the deadliest attack that we have seen in Australia ever, and it's all because words matter.
As you know, I'm building Gideon. It's an AI threat detection platform for law enforcement. We got 24 agencies across 6 states. One of the key pieces of behavior that Gideon is flagging daily by the hour is suicide ideation. The reason why suicide by cop or death by cop is one of the key, it's part of the same psychological well as homicide. And that's one of the key pre-indicator signals. With these two shooters, you'll notice that they made the choice to gun it out with police. That means that their mission was already predetermined. They were prepared to die. And that makes that attack that much more lethal.
Listen to these chants. This is a few days after October 7th. Listen to the chants outside the Sydney Opera House. They are chanting, gas the Jews. And then sadly just put up this graphic because this is anti-Semitic attacks in the United States over the past decade. Look at this, up 893%, Rabbi. We have done many of them on this show. I mean, this is something, we talk about this, it has got to be concerning for somebody like you.
100% it's concerning. Here's the biggest problem. Everybody wants to know, how did Hitler...
To be fair, at least half the site is examples of putting mayonnaise on pastrami.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, but you see, he says it's concerning. So see, when it's an anti-Semitic attack, he's very willing to create that causal link between rhetoric and action. And now, of course, when that same question is posed, well, this guy just must have been mentally ill, right? The lone nut.
It's because you had leaders that weren't going to do anything and just say, hey, it's only against the Jewish people. But then he started killing your own countrymen. What you're starting to see now is all over the world, what are they doing at the Opera Center? They're trying to destroy Australia's way of life. They went after Thanksgiving Day Parade. They go after everything that's American. They're going into the malls. I said it once, I'll say it 1,000 times. It's not going after the Jews. It's a conquering religion that wants to take over the United States and our Western way of living.
Yep, the clash of civilizations, right? And here's another Fox News gem. This just came across the wire here. I didn't even have time to download this, but I'll do a screen share. This is, let me just pull this up here so I can share because I want to set this one up. Moro says, it's a Sunni mosque location. Why do I bring that up? Because Iran is a Shia nation, implying that the Iranians were somehow behind this.
Oh, my God.
Whole situation right here. I'm trying to get some information about it. According to what I see here, it is a Sunni mosque location. Why do I bring that up? because Iran is a Shia nation. And some of the stuff that we've seen lately relative to Iran, like, for instance, Hezbollah-linked attacks that were planned to go off here in America, that has a Shia footprint. And if you do counter, I did 15, 16 years of counterterrorism, you think in those terms. What do I have here? Where should I be looking? What can
Well, that explains a lot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, can't be the just widespread, Islamophobic bigotry. It has to be the Iranians. This has to be a sectarian conflict here, bubbled over. No, just predictably pathetic on their part. Now, I want to be clear because I think you have to be principled in all directions on this. I do not believe, as someone who believes in free speech, I do not believe that, bigoted language is incitement. And the reason why you can't go there is because once you go there, then you really blur the lines as to what is protected speech and what is not protected speech. Like, I think you have the right to be a bigoted piece of shit. You do not have the right to directly incite imminent acts of violence. And the more you blur the lines between those, the more civil liberties become eroded. So I'm not going to say that people's bigoted language is directly responsible for this, because I have to stand on principle as someone who believes in people's right to say despicable things, because that's what free speech is all about. But I will say that the double standard is, of course, glaringly obvious. And this is why I think it's important whenever an event like this happens, no matter who it happens to, you just have to come out and forcefully condemn acts like this, because the more the powers that be work to establish links between words and violence, the fewer words you're going to be allowed to say. And there's no question about it that, you have a very sick country here. I mean, what the rabbi was saying was obviously one-sided. You saw after Bondi Beach, he was very, very eager to establish a link between words and violence, whereas here he's saying, well, this must be mental illness. But look, it's a sick country. It's a sick society. It really is. When we did the segment on the UK rally the other day, we were talking about how in the UK, they measure violent crime stats in ways that we don't. They measure it in terms of victims per million. We measure it in terms of victims per 100,000. What does that tell you? That tells you we're measuring this on a scale that is 10 times amplified what UK's violent crime rate is. And so it's obviously horrible when you look at what Muslims have had to go through in this country for the past 25 years. Every time you see something like this and you see an imam respond with such dignity and poise, that is definitely moving. But obviously, the heart goes out to San Diego. That's really all you could say about this. It's just an absolutely gutting story.
Yeah. The level of just hatred that's being ginned up against Muslims is not an accident. I don't know if you saw Caitlin Johnston. She shared out some reporting from Drop Site News from a few months ago. They had done an article revealing that Israel, through its Hasbara budget, had contracted a study showing, well, you can't really get people to like Israel at this point, but you can get them to hate Muslims.
Right.
And if you get them to hate Muslims, their opinion of Israel rises 20 points.
Wow.
So a lot of what you're seeing is Hasbara money going into creating anti-Muslim bigotry and hatred. It's very easy to do with Americans because they're so ignorant of the world outside of America for the most part, relative to other countries of their class. They're much less likely to have a passport. If they do travel, they keep it very safe, Europe. Maybe they'll go to Paris. Maybe they'll go to London. they don't actually go to the countries where these people live, where they would find out that, as a rule, Muslims are very hospitable. They tend to be religious in a good way. They tend to try to live by the golden rule. They tend to be very, very decent and very ethical, in my experience. I worked with Muslims for years. And yeah, they were always pretty, in a way that you would very rarely see with Christians in the West. They were pretty devout to the edicts of the religion, most of which, just like every other religion, are golden rule kind of edicts.
Right.
Don't steal, be nice to people, don't start shit, quite contrary to the vision of the violent wild Muslim. That if you actually spend time with Muslims, that's not the case. That's the case with Americans.
Right.
Americans, again, nobody, it's not even just the Muslim rhetoric. It's this psychological pressure cooker of negativity
Well, that's
that Americans live in,
Absolutely.
makes them freaking crazy
Mhm.
and puts them on a hair trigger all the time.
Yes, 100%. I mean, that's why, I said this is as much just a symptom of the sickness of American society as anything else. I mean, look at the Brits. I mean, Robinson didn't have as many people as he claimed at that rally, but he had a fair amount of people. I mean, you have, the hatred throughout these societies. There are reasons you don't get events like this. There are reasons why events like this are measured completely differently here than they are there because of what you just said. It doesn't even stop at the bigotry. It is a far bigger problem than that. Yeah. Just
was part of what's crazy about Americans being afraid to travel to so many places, thinking they're unsafe. You are far more unsafe in America than you would be in just about any country that has a functioning government and a stable society. Like, to be in as much danger as you are in America, you have to go to a conflict zone. Like, you'd have to go to a place with a civil war, where government doesn't really have control over the whole interior. Like, you'd have to go to places like that to be in as much danger of violence or robbery as you are in the United States.
Yeah. Yes. 100%. 100%. It is a very troubled place, and that manifests itself more often than it should with stories like this, for sure. All right, let's go to a news break here. Here's Thomas Massie throwing a little shade at AIPAC in his concession speech, apparently. Thomas Massie announces he has officially conceded to AIPAC-funded candidate Ed Gallrein. Massie says it took me a while to locate Ed Gallrein in Tel Aviv. Let's take a look at this.
I would have come out sooner, but I had to call my opponent and concede, and it took a while to find Ed Gallrein in Tel Aviv. I did get the call through, though. I have called and conceded the race. We've been honorable the whole time, and we're going to stay that way. I would have.
Well, there you go. There you go. Gets the last dig in there. One more for the road, as they say.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. We'll move right on along here. Quick game break from our friends at Rumble, of course. So you hear a lot about the changing economy, and now Rumble is out with a plan to help you control your money, because technology has changed everything, and now it's changing the way money works. Through Rumble Wallet, you can get started in the new economy quicker and easier than you think. That's, of course, where the Rumble Wallet comes in. Rumble takes all that complexity and makes it simple. You can choose what you want: Bitcoin, dollar-backed stable coins, or even digital gold backed by real gold. No complicated setup. It
connects you with MoonPay, so you can use your credit card, your debit card, or your bank and be up and running in just minutes. And here's the cool thing. Once you get set up, you can even support your favorite Rumble creators like us directly through the Rumble wallet. So do this now. Scan the QR code right on the screen or click the link in the description and download Rumble Wallet. From there, you can set up your wallet, tap buy, and you're in the game. In just a few minutes, you can go from hearing about the new economy to participating with Rumble Wallet. So the interface is simple. It's user-friendly. Sending a Rumble rant through the Rumble Wallet is just as easy as when you do it the old-fashioned way. No added steps. So scan that QR code and click that link and get started with the Rumble Wallet today to take control of your money and help support the free speech creator economy. Okay, let's move right on along here. You want to take some chats?
Sure. Let me navigate over there.
Okay.
All right. Nocturnal Human. Someone in chat said the Senate passed a war power resolution.
They passed it, yeah. Well, I mean, they did pass it because apparently Bill Cassidy, the guy who lost his primary for not sucking Donald Trump off hard enough, I guess, apparently he switched his vote, and now he voted for it. Out of spite. So it passed 50-49. So yeah, FAFO, baby. I don't know what that means. I don't know how much weight that carries. I mean, it's one vote. I guess it's not veto proof. Can you veto that? I don't know how that works.
I do not.
Yeah, but yes, that was news. Thank you for that.
Professor Brown, no, corruption looked at the U.S. and said, sure, I like it dirty, but god damn. Yeah.
Thank you.
It's pretty bad, man. It's pretty bad. Iron Will Strength 12. Hey guys, former conservative Trumper now lean more centrist libertarian. However, can't wrap my head around more pure socialist policies as opposed to capitalism. Can you break down better for me and recommend some material? You know what? That is what we like to see, man. Somebody who's just got an open mind, and is curious. I think that within the context of our society, I've been saying this, I just went to these communist countries, and what they don't tell you is, Vietnam, China has had incredible GDP growth. China has lifted 800 million people out of poverty. Eddie Liger over at Midwestern Marks just dropped a video that was pretty funny about how, anything that's wrong with China, they'll say it's because they're communists, and anything that's right with China, they'll say it's because they're capitalists. It has markets, but it is a communist system in the sense that the government has total control over what prerogatives the corporations have, what prerogatives the banks have. There is no rival party. You're not going to overthrow the system. I do not believe that you could do what they did there here. But I think when you're talking about, let's just start there. Just basic social democratic reforms of what they have in every other Western country. Free education, free healthcare, living wage tied to inflation. Like when you're talking about that basic social democratic agenda, what is the objection to that? Like why would you not want that? Is what we're doing working? Like in your what we're doing with healthcare, is that working? What we're doing with education, is that working? Like at the very least, I know you're coming out of a conservative background. All right, well, where has that gotten us? And when they start talking about this, fantasy of, well, you need the real capitalism. It's pretty funny because those are the same people who will mock anybody who says we haven't really tried communism, right? Like capitalism seems to lead into fascism everywhere that it's been tried. So in terms of resources, I don't know, man. I mean, I'm not a theory person. I'm not one of these people who sits around really reading Lenin and Marx. A lot of my political education comes more from people like Thomas Frank. Something actually with where it sounds like you're at, I would recommend reading was Frank's last book, The People Know. There has been a conspiracy to convince people for over 100 years that any movement that is based on the people and improving their condition is ignorant or savage or stupid or un-American. A lot of what leads people to believe that about these kinds of programs, you'll be amazed at how much you could read an article from 100 years ago, and it sounds like it was in the New York Times this week. So I would say to read that. Keaton, you have any recommendations?
In terms of like resources, no, but in terms of like just where to start from, I think it's important to start at just differentiating between capitalism and markets. I think people assume that you can only have markets under capitalism. It's not the case.
Right. No.
So to put it very, very simply, a market
that was like the USSR tried to do that, and they've
Right.
defined communism that way ever since.
Right. So a market is, you have a little apple orchard, you grow apples, you put them in a crate, you bring them to the farmer's market, you sell the apples to people who want to pay you for apples. That's a market. That's not capitalism. Capitalism is when a rich person buys the apple orchard and then pays people to grow the apples and bring the apples to market, keeps half of the revenue that comes from selling those apples for himself so that he can buy more orchards and pay more people a smaller and smaller percentage of what their labor actually produces. And that creates all kinds of problems. Number one, obviously, the most obvious, the people actually doing the work to bring the apples to market don't get paid enough to live because they're getting paid a fraction of what their labor is actually worth. But second, it creates a spiritual crisis because people become alienated from their work because their work has no meaning anymore. It used to mean something to grow the apples and bring them to market. You got paid. You took care of your family with that money. Now you do it for somebody else who skims the profits off the top, and you get stuck eking out a living every month, barely getting by if you're lucky. When I worked at Barnes & Noble during a holiday season, one of the stupid bitch managers thought it was a great idea to get on the loudspeaker at the end of every shift at fucking midnight when we're all fucking bleary-eyed, exhausted, having worked for $7.75 an hour all day, which was the wage back then. We made $46,000 today as a store. Oh, that's wonderful. You know how much I made? I made $52. What the fuck do I care how much you made? Right? So that's a place I would think of it like that. You don't have to be. In fact, you shouldn't be anti-markets. Markets are hugely important and hugely valuable and hugely necessary for human survival. You're not
huge
anti-market.
markets in China and Vietnam.
Exactly. So anyway, that's what I would say.
And a lot of people are mentioning, I didn't even think of it because I was thinking of like books. Richard Wolff, man. Richard Wolff.
Yeah.
That is something, because I did come back from China saying, yeah, that works in China. You could never have that in America. So how would you have something like that there? I know Richard Wolff focuses more on worker collectives as a means of building something more along those lines there. I want to have him on the show, but he makes a good case for moving in that direction.
I want to ask him about Rayo's coffee, because he's at UMass Amherst, and I went to school at Amherst for a year and change. And that coffee that they roast in Hadley, right near Amherst, is fucking delicious. It's amazing. Wonderful coffee. I'd like to ask him about that.
Ask him if he would give up his cell for that coffee.
Yeah. It's really, really good. Really, really good. They had it at the library. I used to get it for free at the library. It was awesome. Russ, you can live like a king in Vietnam. That's right.
I'm well aware.
Kendrick Barnes, this reeks of corruption beyond buying votes. TPS report says, glad Russ is back, but being in Louisville, the Kentucky jokes hit a sore spot, Keaton. Fair warning, boy. Disparaging the bluegrass. I'm bad enough to spit out my tobacco and kick my sister wife in her tooth. Thank you, TPS report. Pete Sweet says, willful ignorance, blind submission, and would not be surprised if the churches went all out to defeat Massie during their Sunday services in his district. Yep, it's pretty pathetic shit, really is. Kate7478, one of the people with Massie might be able to get you a live interview if you ask. Well, I don't have any way to ask people now. I mean, I could DM James Lee, but what am I going to bother him and say, get me an interview with Thomas Massie now? That's what we should.
Hey, listen, I know we don't really know you at all.
But we were thinking if you could.
We want you to do this heavy lift.
We're thinking if you could go and badger the congressman into giving an interview to a channel he's never heard of. Dendro Bates. In hindsight, maybe Kentucky really did want the gay mafia. I mean, you guys even said MAGA were all closeted homosexuals. Yeah, no, it makes sense. It makes sense. Pieces fit. Andy Gardner, Massie back like a Somali Manjoni, based like a Somali Manjoni. Surprising. SP Zip 5kin to any former Trumper in the audience right now. Join the ACP. They welcome everybody in their ranks regardless of social views. Don't join PSL or DSA. Look up Who Funds the Left by RTSG. Yeah, we got we got some ACP members give $1, some give $10. I like the $10 ACPs. Those are the.
I mean, you want me to join? You need to get those numbers up.
Get the numbers up. Keep.
They're trying to get me. They're trying to get me to join the New York chapter.
Yeah, for $1.
Because they've never eaten with me. They don't know about my table manners.
Bring you to green. Use guys hear about that law against importing books to Kentucky. Old man got charged. Case thrown out on the counter. No one can prove they were books. Ha. Good one. Cuba's cosmonaut car explosion near Wall Street Bull in NYC. Is that right? Well, I'll have to look that up.
That's true.
TPS report. Well, crap. If Massie lost, I promised liquor store raccoon I'd go on a bender with him. Looked for us passed out near the store urinal on viral vid tomorrow. All right, we will. That'll be fun. You heard it here first, everybody. Appreciate that. All right, let's do. We got one more segment on the evening. Then we're gonna go drown our sorrows in some Kentucky bourbon.
Kentucky whiskey, take my mind.
Whiskey River, take my
Whiskey
mind.
River, take my mind. Yeah. Okay, so listen, man, we can have our disagreements about communism and socialism and capitalism. I think no matter who you are, you have got to understand that what the communists did is they took every guy like this in the country and made him go work on a farm for 10 years. Or in the case of the Russians, they shot him. So, hey, you know, that the Russians took it too far, but the Chinese, they felt like, you know, everyone's redeemable. Kevin O'Leary just has to get his mind right. He just has to get his mind right, working in the fields, you know, even like Kentucky, in the tobacco fields.
The tobacco fields. Learn the value of a day's work.
Have him work in the tobacco fields, fill notebooks with his crimes, right? Study communist theory.
Maybe clean shark tanks.
Maybe clean that. There you go. There you go. Communists with a sense of humor might do that.
Yeah.
It's not an oxymoron, as you may have heard. But yeah, no, that's you gotta understand. Like basically the communists took every guy like Kevin O'Leary and rounded him up. So whatever you think about communism, you gotta understand that's a big part of the appeal. Look, this is free advice. I know we have friends from the ACP. You should lead with that, guys. You should really lead with that. You tend to lead with the Lenin and the Marx and theory. Fuck the theory. Tell them we're going to make Kevin O'Leary work in the fields for 10 years.
Grow corn. He's going to grow corn.
Yeah. That would be my pitch.
We got a lot of corn.
We're going to grab Jeff Bezos.
Yeah.
We're gonna use his wife as a dirigible with the lips.
Yeah.
And we're gonna make them actually be useful to society.
You don't want immigrants growing your corn, so let them grow corn.
Yeah, let them grow corn. Well, he is an immigrant. He's Canadian.
That's true.
He's Canadian. He's another rootless cosmopolitan with multiple passports. All right, so here's his latest banger here. This is the kind of thing that keeps uber rich Kevin O'Leary up at night. thinking about what young people that can still get an erection without medical help spend on lunch.
When I see kids that are making 70 grand a year spending, can't stand it when I see kids that are making 70 grand a year spending $28 for lunch. I mean, that's just stupid. It's just, think about that in the context of that being put into an index and making 8 to 10% a year for the next 50 years.
Think about a guy with my money thinking about what a 25-year-old spends on their lunch and getting this upset about it. Think about that.
I mean, you could say that about anything. Why would you pay Why would you pay $1,800 a month in rent when you can invest that money and have it grow?
Well, sure.
Because that's what the rent is. What do you mean?
That's what the rent is.
Like, well, yeah, obviously, if people had more money to invest, they could invest it and get richer. Yeah, that's a brilliant insight.
Well, in the conversation that ensued, some of the people who jumped in tried to make that argument. Sean Podrick McCarthy says lunch just costs $28 now. Are they not supposed to eat? Now, me and Keaton, we talked about this a little bit. All right, so, that's probably a little inartful there. I don't think lunch is $28, but Keaton, in his Seinfeld way, remembered very specifically the first time we ever met, we physically in the flesh. We worked together a couple years before we ever met physically, and we went and had lunch at a place in Midtown. And I just remembered that the price was outrageous, like $13 for a sandwich.
And they had bacon, egg, and cheese, like a breakfast sandwich. Yeah.
It was like a breakfast sandwich, though. It was $13. And Keith remembered they charged for the lettuce and tomato.
Yeah, they charged extra for the lettuce and tomato. I remember that. Because you asked, why is it $13? And they started reading, you got lettuce and tomato.
Yeah. Okay, so do you have to spend...
charge for lettuce and tomato? What am I, a rabbit?
Right. Now, okay, all right. I'll grant you it's New York, but things are pretty expensive all over, man. Like before I started boycotting McDonald's, but it was post-COVID price increases. Man, I used to, my McDonald's go-to was like a double quarter pounder with cheese and 2 apple pies. That shit was like $16 the last time I got it. Like, so yeah, like maybe it's not $28. A lot of people want to, make that point. What, it's less than 20 if you're working in a city and you have to have lunch by the office. Is it really less than 20?
I haven't
for
eaten
anything that you
years,
would
so
want to
know.
eat,
Yeah.
which I'll get into. That's another point here, but I'll get into it. All right, so another advertisement for the Hammer and Sickle, Joel Berry. He is the managing editor of Babylon Bee. Now, unfortunately, because Babylon Bee is not publicly traded, his salary is not reported. So we don't know what he makes. But I'm betting he makes enough that he doesn't have these kinds of problems, right? But he decided to weigh in on this. So he also this week weighed in on how they were going after Ben Shapiro and not Tucker and Candace or any of the others. So he's also a piece of shit Zionist, as most of these people tend to be, frankly. A little known hack: 2 slices of Aldi wheat bread, 17 cents. 3 ounces of Aldi deli turkey, 86 cents. 1 slice Aldi cheddar, 15 cents. 1 condiment of your choice, 2 cents. 1 apple, 53 cents. 1 hard-boiled egg, 14 cents. 5 carrot sticks, 17 cents. Cold water from the tap, 1 cent.
Pancreatic cancer
$205.
treatment, $350,000 from eating cold cut turkey and cheese every day for 35 years.
Well, that's exactly where I'm going with this. Total
Oh,
205. You can do this. You
Yeah.
can do this. Okay, so yes, as you may have noticed, a diet like this is going to leave you with health problems that you better use that extra money to save up for your cancer treatments if you're going to eat like this. And then, everyone else is kind of making similar suggestions. All the peasants jumping in on this. Captain Corn Juice, peanut butter, grape jelly, loaf of bread, $13.22 at Walmart. That's 2 sandwiches a day at lunch for a week, $2 a day. Problem isn't the cost of food. The problem is what people think they need to eat. And it keeps going like that. Ken, sure, pal, and he shares out the cost of craft singles. $1.49, I guess, for 20 ounces of craft singles.
I got to get in on that. I got to get in on those Twitter threads. You have to send me links to those because I want to like post pictures of the most disgusting shit you could ever eat. Be like, this cost me $1.83. Just post like fucking garbage.
Corn picked out of my shit. 0. Okay, so yes, it's very interesting when you look at what they suggested. This is all food that is very unhealthy for you. Like this is really let them eat cake stuff. This is really like, what's wrong with the pig slop?
Right.
What's wrong with it? That's good enough for you. Don't you want to save up and invest in an index fund? Well, it's going to cost you a kidney.
Right.
Processed lunch meats, what's in them and how they can impact your health. High sodium content is a hallmark of processed lunch meats. They are loaded with salt to enhance flavor and preserve freshness. Regular consumption of high sodium foods has been linked to an increased risk of high blood pressure, dehydration, and heart disease. The presence of preservatives has been associated with potential health risks. When consumed in large amounts over time, these chemicals can form compounds called nitrosamines, which are linked to an increased risk of certain cancers, particularly colorectal cancer. Additives and fillers can dilute their nutritional value and impact digestive health in some people. Protein-based fillers are less commonly associated with adverse health effects, but may reduce the overall nutritional quality of the product by displacing more nutrient-dense ingredients. The impact on overall health ranges from gut microbiome imbalances to weight gain and metabolic concerns. 41% of Americans are obese, by the way. Emerging research also suggests a link between processed meats and cognitive decline in older adults. So other than the high blood pressure, the colorectal cancer, and the Alzheimer's, you're going to be swimming in dough. This is a very workable plan. Hey, how about what's in grape jelly? We had that peanut butter and jelly suggestion. Okay, so in Welch's, most common brand, Concord grapes, corn syrup, high fructose corn syrup, fruit pectin, citric acid, sodium citrate. Yum. Yum. How about in Skippy, the most common peanut butter? Roasted peanuts, well, at least I got that. Sugar, loaded with sugar. Skippy is loaded with sugar. Hydrogenated vegetable oil, cottonseed, soybean, and rapeseed oil to prevent separation, and salt. Yeah, so garbage. It's all garbage. Now I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. Well, they eat the healthy stuff. Okay, well then it's not cheap. If you get the healthy stuff, it's not cheap. So yeah, Welch's, you can get 60 ounces of that fucking industrial lubricant garbage for $8.40. You want to get actual grape jelly, you're going to get 17.5 ounces for $5.68. About 60% of the cost. You're going to get less than a third of the jelly if you actually buy real grape jelly. What they're selling, that's not grape jelly. That's like grape drink, right? Same thing with peanut butter, man. $3.95 if you want the garbage. This is from Aldi, actually. They didn't have Skippy out. We don't have Aldi here. I guess it's one of those Sam Club kind of deals where They
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
have
yeah.
like the Skippy brand. They have other shit.
They have their store brands. Yeah, it's a very good deal, and you can get some good stuff at Aldi, but you can also get some garbage.
Yeah, so $3.95 for 40 ounces. If you want the garbage, is probably like Skippy, I would assume. You want real peanut butter? It's going to be less than half that for more money. It's going to be $4.39. So what you're telling people is cheap. It's not cheap unless you want garbage, unless you want fake food. And then the American cheese, that's not even cheese.
Yeah, that's
American
why they
cheese
call
is
it
not
American cheese. Right.
It's a cheese food. It's like a cheese themed food. That's not cheese. American cheese is one of the most ultra processed cheeses available. It's made to melt easily, which often means it contains added emulsifiers, oils, and salt. This type of cheese tends to be high in sodium and saturated fat and has fewer nutrients than traditional block cheeses. That combination can raise both blood pressure and LDL cholesterol. Yeah, so, I keep saying they're trying to kill you. There you go. They're trying to kill you. And then we don't have to litigate the health risks of living on fast food, I'm sure. I'm just going to point out that these fucking morons put that out as a suggestion for what you should eat for lunch every day. All commies do is lie. Even in a California with insane labor costs, McDonald's wrap is $3. Not to mention constant deals they have on their app. So ranch snack wrap they're suggesting for lunch. And then, oh yeah, no, that's really good for you. The $5 McChicken meal deal. Wow. Yeah, that's what you should eat. That's really good stuff, man. So political punk here. Look at the Babylon Bee asswipe. He wants you to be excited about a jailhouse menu so you can live on $2 per meal. What a fucking prick. Yes, by all means, go work a job and limit your eating to a work camp menu so you can save $20 and the owner of your company gets a yacht. Yeah. And I weighed in here. Say what you will about communism, but a system that would do the obvious thing and put Joel Berry in a labor camp for 10 years where he'd have plenty of time to consider why he shouldn't have been telling a country where half the people can't afford a $500 emergency to buy cheaper bread has a lot to recommend it. I hope our former MAGA friend is listening to this because that would be part of my argument, my friend. I'd prefer not to. I tried to do what he told me, but under capitalism, they don't let you do what Joel said to do. Yeah, that's another point, man. If you're that broke, how are you going to buy the slices, man? They're going to make you buy the whole loaf.
Did you just really go and take out bread and eggs?
I buy the food.
No, you
this
can't
is the
buy
Somali
just
troll.
buy this. You wouldn't.
I
buy meat cart outside.
Look.
I don't care.
Are you the leader of this
Give me
operation?
3 eggs and 2 slices
of
I speak for this whole store. You can't do this here. This is not Africa.
This reminds me of when Pookie was in that movie and he said, "How much for one rib?"
Yeah, so you really can't do that. And then here, Jay Miller, for only $1 more, you could get 1 pound of Little Debbie goodness and a side of diabetes. Yeah, sure, there's lots of cheap food out there. So some of the responses were pretty funny. Jacob Knows Ball went from make America affordable again to shut up and eat your prison food. Jesse, MAGA, you must eat Aldi sandwiches for the rest of your life because we have to exploit you for $7.50 an hour to maintain our capitalistic dystopia. Yeah, it's about the size of it. And then this was pretty interesting. All right, so people complain about boomers taking all the wealth, but they don't want to live like boomers either. Now, this is a fascinating rebrand, right? Because my whole life, conservatives have been characterizing boomers this way, right? They're the ones who ruined everything. They're the irresponsible, free love Woodstock hippies. You know what happened? Those boomers are dead now. And the only boomers left are the ones who want to redefine their generation as the greatest generation, right? As the lunch pail people who survived the Great Depression. So all of a sudden now the boomers were all a bunch of lunchbox Pete's, not a bunch of Woodstock dropouts. But hey, here's somebody to break down how ridiculous the suggestion that the boomers were scrimping and saving to get by actually is.
1970, the average home was $15,000. It is now $436,000. It has gone up 29 times. Rent was $108, is now $2,000. That's gone up 20 times. College was $500. It's now $11,000. That's gone up 20 times. Gas was 36 cents. It's now $3.80. That has gone up 10 to 12 times. But what about the income? In 1970, the average person was making $9,000. Today, they're making $56,000. That has only gone up 6 times compared to everything else. But here's where this is where it gets sad. In 1970, the average household had 3.5 children. Today, it's only 1.9. And the crazy part is that back in 1970, the average household, 47% were dual income. It has now jumped to 65% is dual income. So millennials and Gen Zers under the household are putting in more hours than the boomers did. We're both working 40 hours a week. But you got way more bang for your buck and more children. You got to expand your family, own a house. Things are so drastically different. The birth rate is plummeting because people can't afford it. So we need to make a change so that we can turn this around.
Casper Capital. Housing in 1970 cost the average American about 2 times their annual income. Housing in 2026 costs the average American about 5 to 6 times their annual income. Down payment requirements scale with that. So does the debt load carried for 30 years. People who bought in 1990 or 2000 are not smarter about money. They bought into a system before the rules changed. Telling someone who graduated into a 5 times home price environment that they just need to stop spending on lattes is not financial advice. It's math avoidance. Yes. And we have some charts here breaking it down that'll make some of you youngins cry. 1973 median home sales price, $33,000. Today, adjusted, well, there's 2023 inflation. That would be $232,000. It's manageable, right? It's manageable. What you have instead today is $426,100 is the average price of a home. Double that. And wages have not in any way kept up with that. And then how do you start out? How do young people start out? They rent, right? And then they try to save up for a home. Well, 1973, your rent it was $133. That would be $913 now. Average rent is $1,406. Average public college tuition, $436 in 1973. That would be $3,519 now. 2023, $9,750. That's public college, dude. When I went to SUNY, it was about $675 a semester for the tuition. $675. Have wages gone up to that level since then? Of course they haven't. Now, this whole suggestion of what people should eat, part of why that really caught my eye, people who come from where I come from usually don't get out. I got out. I can tell you, having had the experience of working class people and the people I went to college with, a lot of people I grew up with are already dead, man. There are a lot of them already died from cancer. My best friend died from cancer. People I went to college with, I don't know one of them that died of cancer. You know what? They don't eat like that. They don't eat like that. Working class people do eat like that because they're fucking poor, and it kills them. It kills them, along with a lot of the kinds of materials a lot of times they're exposed to on construction sites, the chemicals, the dust, the combination of all those things. But part of it is the diet. That's one of the first things I noticed when I went away to college, man. These people, they take care of themselves, man. They're educated about what to eat, and they have money. They have money to take care of themselves. Like, people with money don't live like fucking pigs. They don't. They don't eat that corn syrup shit. Long before society in general was talking about that, the people I encountered who were from a higher class, they already didn't eat like that. They already knew better than to eat garbage. So basically, Joel Berry and fucking Kevin O'Leary, they're telling the peasants, eat food that's going to kill you in order to try to save money for a house that statistically, based on the numbers, you're probably never going to be able to afford. And if you do manage to afford it, the insurance company in our wonderful system will probably end up taking that house from you when they refuse to cover the cancer treatments you're going to need from eating like this for years and breaking your ass to get that house.
Yeah. And, as the saying goes, the math ain't mathin'. Like, you're not going to be able to advance yourself anyway working for these kinds of wages. Like, the difference between you actually building wealth and not building wealth is not $20 a day. What is it? So you're saying, okay, you can eat for what, $5 a lot? Okay, so $100 per week is what? Let's say you save $100 a week on lunch. What's that? $5,000 a year to put a down payment on the house. What do you need for closing everything? 35, 40 grand. So what? It's going to take you 10 years to save that with lunch money, with the cost of living going up in every other direction. It's not going to work. It doesn't work. It can't work. The numbers aren't there. You can't grow your wealth as a worker anymore because capital has made it pretty much impossible. And that's just the way it is. And, the reason why a lot of the boomers were perhaps a little more frugal with their money than maybe some young people are now is because, excuse me, those lifestyle choices actually affected their ability to grow their wealth, right? Like, if you can see, like, if you're getting paid enough to keep up with inflation, if you're getting paid enough to put some money away, right? Now, all of a sudden you say, hey, now we save a few bucks here and there. We can actually grow something substantial in a relatively small period of time. If that's out of sight anyway, then you think to yourself, well, I may as well take pleasure in the little things in life since I'm never going to own a home. So I may as well have a good lunch instead of a shit lunch.
There's no incentive.
There's no incentive to save. What are you saving for? What are you saving for? You're still working for a shit wage that at your rate of earning, it's going to take you forever to advance yourself in any real way anyway. So the incentives just aren't there. So yeah, no, that is complete boomer slop that they feed people. And the point of that is to just validate the system. The point of that is to convince it's not to convince young people to spend less money on lunch. The point of that is to convince older people that, hey, if these spoiled kids just spent less money on lunch, they could have it just like we had it. And the reason they don't is because they're entitled, they're spoiled and lazy, and they want to eat avocado toast. It's just very tired, and it's untrue. There's simply no truth to it.
It's amazing, these peasants who come out of the woodwork. Yeah, look at how much American cheese costs. Like that fucking trucker who jumped up to list his 5 things that he does for Elon. Like, that is so sad, man. That is just so sad. Like, when you see people who are not rich who want to, jump up and please rich people by validating their narratives. There's nothing sadder to me than that. It's infuriating. And it's also just very, very sad.
Indeed it is. All right. Hey, folks, if you like what we do here and you want to help us do more of it, you know what to do. Become a member. You get film club screenings once a month with our friends at Right Brain TV. We will be announcing this month's film probably by the end of this week. We will have a date and a film picked out. You also get bonus post-game live streams once a month, call-in access to all of our post-show Q&As, your name up in lights here on the patron scroll, and ad-free replays of every live stream emailed to you the day after they air. live, all for just $5 a month. You guys are the backbone of the show. So thank you all very much for your support. DoDissidents.com/Patreon/Substack or /locals. Vienticus says Thomas Massie concedes Kentucky primary. Welcome to the most expensive congressional primary ever in the 250-year history of this country. Yeah, no, but we're not an occupied nation. That's anti-Semitic. No, it's a what was it? $15 million in pro-Israel money into Kentucky's 4th district. Yeah, no. Vienticus, thing happened. Tell me, Jew person, how should the Goy react? Where are your kids? Thank you very much for that thoughtful insight. And now for this story. Massie versus Hitler hairdo. Cover me incredulous. Thanks, Buddhist nudist. To answer people's questions, FBI reported a manifesto was recovered in the Islamic Center shooting. They had a broad hatred towards a lot of folks. Yeah, they didn't disclose the contents of it as of this airing. They just said there was hate rhetoric in there. Otherwise, I would have put it in there. Andy Gardner, poor Massie, back to them milkers, the cows too. Good one. Bronx Comrade, DD, 3 episodes a week. Thanks for your wit, analysis, and hard work. Absolutely. Thank you, Bronx Comrade. Appreciate that. If you want to learn Marxism, listen to Midwestern Marx, Red God, Haas, RSTG, RTSG, The Gray Zone, Michael, and Christian Parenti. They're all anti-woke and left-wing. Yeah, Parenti was great. Somebody recommended Parenti in the chat here. DC, read What is a Property by Pierre Joseph Proudhon. Thank you for that. Vienticus, kids can't read today. It's gotten really bad. The situation is something that both expected and something that floors you when you hear it. Blank State. Yo, Rosie D, I'm going to let you finish. But communism ain't got shit to do with government. It's literally the abolition of such an institution. Neither Marx, Engels, nor Lenin invented the concept. Yeah, it doesn't necessarily involve central planning. All right, let's see.
I mean, generally, communists believe that pure communism, the kind that you're talking about, is impossible without a certain level of material production. It's the Star Trek thing.
Right.
So in the case of this is why communist societies tend to be very concerned with industrial policy. Like they want production because you need a lot of production for that to be possible.
Right. Kemen, Michael Parenti, also a good resource. Yes, indeed. Sir Bikes a lot. Every time I see someone say communist is bad, I think, why did our capitalist leaders send all our jobs to communists? So far, I don't get any answers. Yeah, exactly. Why do we buy most of our shit from them?
Yeah.
I am the owl.
That's a
Didn't
good
know
point.
Keaton went to Amherst for a year. I went to UMass. I didn't go to UMass Amherst, not Amherst College. That's the campus the Pixies wrote their best song, UMass, about. Us college basketball super nerds recorded the Minutemen. Had a hell of a team in the 90s. Yeah, I never went to a game. I mean, I hated it there. I hated school. But I went there for a year and change. Nocturnal Human, a working motherfucker like me needs more than a peanut butter sandwich to power through my workload. That's the other thing. It's not enough food.
Well, yeah, that too.
A peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Are you a child? What are you,
Dude,
5 years old?
Just reading that, man, it brought me back to when I was fucking starving after college. Yeah, that's not healthy, man. I felt sick. I felt sick all the time because I was eating like very cheap, unnutritious food like that.
Yeah, you can't work as hard as I do on 3 crackers a day. Yeah, no, you need protein. You can't have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. You're not in fucking kindergarten. Massie lost by 10,000 votes. He should run as an independent and will get most of the Dem and independent votes because of Epstein files. If no Dem in the race, and keep most of the GOP primary votes. Hey, maybe. I mean, I don't know how many Democrats there are. It's a very, very red district. I don't know how feasible it is. I'm sure it's something he's thought about if it is, but we'll see. Nocturnal Human, fuck those pencil-wristed, paperweight, desk-riding feather boys telling working people we don't need to eat. Tusker says, sounds like you are going to need socialized medicine if you insist that the American working class stick to PBJ and ham and cheese sandwiches. That's right.
Seriously.
That's right. Kirkland's signature sharp cheddar is $6.69. I find I can get by on only £1.50 per day. Surprisingly good straight. I eat it on the toilet at my cardiologist's office. It's good. I like that. That's funny. That's funny. That's probably the funniest super chat of the evening. Vienticus, cholesterol isn't really that unhealthy for you. Your blood vessels use it to repair damage, which look like clots. The damage gets done by things like sugar. Yeah, sugar is the worst. Also, that whole sodium leads to heart attacks thing was propaganda by the sugar industry. Well, sodium definitely affects your blood pressure. I mean, it affects your blood pressure. Yeah. Don't forget, wars were fought over salt. Yeah, no. Salt and other spices.
I mean, look, it's like Francisco Franco said, too much democracy is like too much oxygen. It'll kill you.
Yeah, too much of anything.
Yeah.
EO Shush, did you see the trend of don't eat the goy slap because they were trying to kill you and to look for the I think it was on K on the label for kosher. The trend of don't eat the goy slap because they're trying to kill you and to look for the yeah, look for the kosher sticker. 3.5 kids seems about right because I knew of 4 siblings. 3 were normal, but 1 was a retard. Thank you, Vienticus.
That's why you have 4 to insure against the retard.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's why a lot of the back in the day, people had a ton of kids because they assumed some wouldn't make it.
Like 10.
Yeah, some wouldn't make it. They would assume. A cocktail of incomes and generous 50-year loan will still get you a house. Stop complaining. Stop complaining. Andy Gardner, I'm incredibly concerned about this mind reader accurately calling my daily poor man lunch. Good one. Russ, what was your impression of how fresh the food was during your travels in Asia? Asked Tusker.
Very fresh. Very fresh. And you know what? I was surprised when I came home because judging by what I ate, I thought I must have put on like 7 or 8 pounds. Right. And when I came home, I did put on weight because at home I have a very tightly regulated diet. Still only 3. If I ate here what I ate there with the shit we put in our food, I would have come back a fucking Oompa Loompa, man.
Yeah.
They just don't put, it was fun. You know where you see it. If anyone saw my Thailand video, it was like the second video I dropped, or maybe the first, where I talked about the Kentucky Fried Chicken, how I was going to try it because they have it everywhere. I finally did it in China. In like my last 2 weeks in Asia, I was like, well, it's now or never, man. I got to try it. It tastes exactly like KFC here, but it's about 1/3 the size because they're not fucking shooting them up with Franken chemicals.
Right.
So it's actually like chicken size. It's like the drumstick is like that big instead of that big.
Right. Right. No more wars. End the Fed and America First chants break out during Thomas Massie's concession speech. Thank you, Vienticus. Aloha Surfer Girl says, Aloha Surfer Girl, is that Tulsi? I haven't received email notifications since May 7th. It was when you had Butchware and Matt Weinglass on. I haven't changed my email settings. I would email you, but I don't know what it is. What should I do? Well, dudissidents@gmail.com is the email address. So, send us an email, but and let us know where you're subscribed through. Are you subscribed through Patreon or Substack or Locals? And we'll look into that for you. Thank you, though. Appreciate that very much. EO Shush says sugar is not bad for you. Seed oils and the other chemicals in our food and environmental damage. The environment damage the cell ability to metabolize the sugar. Well, yeah, pure sugar is not as bad for you. I mean, sugar is not good for you in large quantities, obviously. But yeah, the processed sugars, the syrups and stuff, those are definitely worse. Definitely worse. All right, folks, that's our show. Thanks very much for being here tonight. We will see you back here Thursday at 12 p.m. Eastern. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in tonight. Had a great crowd in here. Smash that like button on the way out. Smash that subscribe button on the way out and that follow button over on Rumble. We will see you back here Thursday at 12 p.m. Eastern. Until then, we want to congratulate the Gay Mafia on their victory in Kentucky this evening. Really bang up job out there in Kentucky's 4th District. It really came through for us, as we knew you would. The Gay Mafia thanks you for your service to this great nation. Until we see you again, thanks, everybody. Thanks to the YouTubers, the Rumblers. Thanks to the mods for keeping the peace in the chat. We'll see you all Thursday, midday, high noon. Don't be late. See you then. Thanks very much for this evening. Be safe and be well.
Courage!
Please clap.